Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. I am your host, Coach Renz, and welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. All you sinners, welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. Welcome to this deconstructing channel where we deconstruct Christianity. We ain't deconstructing other religions, we deconstruct Christianity. We may briefly talk about other religions at times, but we deconstruct Christianity. We're helping people get out of the quicksand that is Christianity, the muck and the mire that they were most likely indoctrinated into, whether directly or indirectly. Welcome, 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 one, welcome all. As a quick reminder and shameless plug, we are having our meetup here in San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. I look forward to you guys being here. You still have time to go ahead and reserve your room at the Drury Plaza Hotel, downtown San Antonio. Just go to my YouTube channel at Coach Renz 33. It's in my little link tree on TikTok as well. You can see the link in there on my description, I should say, profile. But go there and look down in the description of yesterday's live, and you will be able to see the link for the Drury Plaza Hotel. We have a long list of things that we're going to be doing while we're here. We're going to meet at Devil's River Distillery, which is a few blocks away from the hotel. That 8 p.m. that Friday night. After that, we probably do a little dancing or something. Go out and do a little party. And then Saturday morning, if you had the free breakfast that the hotel provides, we'll then adjourn ourselves to the poolside and have a conversation about business and money, because we cannot be deconstructionists and be broke. So talk about building up wealth. Then we'll have people who go do what you want to do, have your lunches and whatnot thereafter. And then at 2 p.m., we're going to meet at the Japanese tea gardens, rock quarry that was purchased by a Japanese group, I believe first, and then a Chinese group, that was purchased by a Chinese group, then bought by a Japanese group. But anyway, one sign says a Japanese tea garden, another sign says Chinese tea garden. But it's a beautiful rock quarry that's been turned into koi ponds and waterfalls and nice nature outlook. There is a restaurant there. You don't have to pay for it, and access is completely free. We will have a deconstruction Q&A there, 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. And then we will leave, and then there's free supper at the hotel. And after that free supper, around 8 o'clock, we will meet back at the poolside at the Drury Plaza Hotel in downtown San Antonio, where the link is in the description of my YouTube. We will YouTube video from yesterday. We will then have our conversation about our pathway, our journey of deconstructing Christianity. And then afterwards, around 10, when the pool area closes, we will figure out where we're going to go party again and have a really good time. Also, we will then meet that Sunday morning before breakfast. Sunday morning sound bowl meditation. Yeah, we'll be having one of those. Now that Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Yes, I will be waking up early just for you guys. No matter how much we party that night before, I'll be waking up early. Hopefully you would join me. You know, little sound, the sound bowls. So that is the event that we will be having here October 31st through November 2nd here in San Antonio, Texas. I look forward to you guys being here. Go to my YouTube channel and reserve your space. Make sure that you're here. Click on the description of yesterday's live, and you will see the link to reserve your room. You do not have to pay for the room until after you have made your stay here. So yes, I look forward to it. Indeed, it shall be a rousing time with everyone that will be here. Yes. So I should do this the whole video, the whole live. So in today's edition of Deconstructing Christianity, we are going to talk about the fact that there is no such thing as sin. That sin is a man-made creation. It has often been thought of by many people who are more intelligent than the overwhelming majority of the people on the planet today. And they realize that the concept of sin is simply a man-made creation. But of course, within the confines of religion, we have many misunderstandings. When you even start with the beginning parts of the Bible, it is not talking about sin in the Judaic Abrahamic reference of it. The Hebrew word there, which is chet, does not mean to sin. It simply is a word that means that you missed the mark, that you made a mistake. And therefore, since you made a mistake, you missed the mark, it was not something that would send you to hell, since there was no such place as hell according to the Judaic religion. It is not until the advent of Christianity that a place of hell becomes this eternal place of torment after they had learned these things from their Greco-Roman and Persian predecessors who once conquered them. They adopted this idea of an underworld with multiple places within. Even in the Hebraic Judaism by the first century CE, they had adopted that there was a place of Abaddon, and then there was the place of Abraham's bosom. But prior to their encounters with the Persians and the Greeks, the Judaic religion did not have this concept. All people just simply went to Sheol, meaning that you went to sleep. You were forever quelled in your consciousness. This is why Samuel was really upset when he was called up from the grave. So there is no sin. There is no sin. Now, many Christians will have to believe that there is the original sin. You are born with original sin. Well, this is something that they derive from the idea that when Adam and Eve had disobeyed this God and ate from the tree of knowledge and good and evil, that the pain in childbirth and the fact that you are then born through blood of coming out of the pum, that you were born with the original sin of the disobedience of Adam and Eve. So that because of the act of two people, you are born with that original sin. And so therefore, you are born a sinful creature. Now, this is further inflated with the comments that this God makes when he is dealing with Noah and the flood in Genesis. In the flood with Genesis, prior to this God destroying everybody on the planet and every animal on the planet, and he clearly says he was destroying the planet because of man, and that he had regretted making man. And he said before he did the flood, he said that every thought from man is evil. Every thought from man is evil. So therefore, he is going to destroy man. Well, he goes through his process of destroying man because and let me be clear, he said every thought from a man's youth, from birth, is evil. So after he destroys man because he feels that he has a righteous man in Noah, that Noah's children therefore will be righteous as well. He has 3 sons and 3 daughter-in-laws. He then decides that after he had destroyed man, that even the flood itself was a mistake, because he once again reiterates that every thought from man from birth is evil. So this God, knowing that every thought from man was evil from birth, still destroyed all of man, even though he regretted it, and destroyed man anyhow, knowing that the same process of evil, as he calls it, would still be in the world. Now, let's understand, evil to this God is simply not worshiping this egotistical maniac of God. So he decides that. So through that idea, many Christians derive the fact that you are born sinful, born with this. So you're first born with this original sin, and you're also born sinful because this God suggests that every thought from man from birth is evil. So even when you see someone struggling, That's an evil thought. And you go to help them. That's an evil thought. You see someone starving and you decide to feed them. According to this God, that's an evil thought. No matter what thought you have about helping someone, doing better in the world, taking care of the earth, loving your wife, loving your husband, loving your children, doing things to reward people that you care for, or employees or bosses or whomever, no matter what good thing you think that you are doing and thinking, according to this God in Genesis, you are having an evil thought. So it's this idea that everyone is born a sinner, born into sin. Now, of course, the Bible does tell you that you have the power to overcome this sin. Yet it tells you that every thought is sinful. After Cain had killed Abel, God was being detective, go gadget. This God came to Cain and said that sin crouches at your door, but you have the power to overcome it. If sin is the personification of evil, the corruption in the human being, the human mind, then how does Cain have the power to overcome it? There was no Jesus at that time frame. There was no Noah hasn't come. Moses hasn't taught the laws, although they had made sacrifices to this God for some ungodly reason. He told him that you have the power to overcome this sin. So then why do you need Jesus? What is the purpose of Jesus if you yourself have the power to overcome this sin? And then even in your New Testament, it tells you that those in First John, those who abide in Jesus, in Christ, are sinless, are sinless. Well, I'm here today to tell you that there is no such thing as sin other than the corruption that you bring upon yourself. Other than that, there is no such thing as sin. And some of the things that others may consider to be a sin, that is only their opinion. And you know what opinions are? Opinions are like assumptions. Everyone has one and they all stink. So there is no such thing as sin. It is simply something that is man-made, man-created. In the same way we create nations, the same way we create races, and the same way we create ethnocentric groups and so on and so forth. It is the same with sin. There is no such thing with that, of sin. It is simply something that we all create. So my question to all of you, first, if you believe that there is something called original sin, or that you are born into sin, go ahead and put a one in the box, a one in the comment. If you believe that there is original sin and that you are born into sin and that you're a sinner, put a one in the chat box. Now, if you disagree with this idea wholeheartedly, just go ahead and put a two in the chat box. Put a two in there. Let's get a two. This will give me time to light my cigar. Yes. I might go back to my regular voice. I'm not sure yet. I'm having a little bit of fun with this one. Well, Anthony Dean says that there is original sin, with Martell and Lightbell and Q, they'll disagree wholeheartedly. Nanology makes one of the types of arguments that I find to be juvenile. Really, is air and wind real? See what I mean? Most certainly, air and wind is real because it can be measured. It can be measured. It can be tested. So to try to compare air and wind to the idea of sin is as if someone is trying to compare not apples to oranges because they are both fruits, but it's like comparing an apple to a stegosaurus. Two things that are so far unrelated to one another that it makes no sense. So let me wait, no, he's saying that Patel. Oh, Patel asked that. Is he saying that Patel asked that question? Because if I make a mistake by putting someone's comment up there, I will try to correct. So let's be clear. Patel said, "Is air real?" Nanology was responding to what Patel said. So when you do that, put at Patel, at the person to which you are speaking of. Otherwise, I'm thinking that you're talking to me. So my apologies, Nanology. My apologies to Nanology. Gotcha. Yes. There he is. Patel is asking that question. Thank you. My apologies to Nanology. It would be perfect if your name was Nanologies, so that my apologies would rhyme perfectly. Yes. I am not above correcting myself and apologizing. Unlike many Christians, believers, I have the humility to be able to apologize. And if you're getting tired of me speaking in this pattern, and would rather me go back to my regular pattern, please put a 1 in the comments. Only my true people I will accept. Those who just hate me for no reason, I will ignore your comments as I normally do. Some of these comments are gobbledygook. I agree with you, Ashley. Some of these comments make no sense. One of the problems that I had when I was deconstructing from the Bible is the fact that the Bible is trying to tell me that every thought from man is a sin. That and as with yesterday in our commentary yesterday, when I was talking about one of the biggest things that helped me to overcome this idea was the fact that when my daughter was born, that when I was 25 and my oldest daughter was born, I looked at her and I thought to myself, how in the 3 levels of hell can I conceptualize that every thought from her is sin, that she is born sinful, that no. And I even went through a process of trying to convince myself, by saying that a child will take another child's toy. That just shows that they're greedy or that they're selfish. A child would eat beyond being full. It just shows that they're greedy. So I tried to convince myself that children are born sinful until I actually start paying attention to my child and start thinking about it and understanding the psychology of it. And the fact of the matter is, the child doesn't see another child's toy as a possession of that other child. They just simply see it as a toy and they have a desire to play with it. I also watched her share as an infant. And then I realized also that as long as you keep putting food in a child's mouth, most of the time, and it's something they like, they're just going to keep eating it. They don't have an idea of greed or the knowledge that if you continue eating, that you will throw up. So I had to realize that my child was not born evil, nor is anyone else's child born evil or born with sin. That is all kinds of bullshittery. All right, let's bring on a guest. I'm gonna go back to my regular speech pattern because yeah, that was fun though. That was fun. Okay, I guess that guest is not there. Let's try another one. I am grateful. I think it's coming up. Well, hello. I am grateful. I think that's what your name is. Hello. Are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Are you over 21?
I am.
Okay, good, good, good. Are you a believer?
Am I what?
A believer.
And myself.
Okay. All right. So what was your so do you believe that there is such a thing as sin or being born into sin?
Why would a God who created us and then tell us that we're separate from Him after creation because of sin? You're created by God, but you're
Mm.
also separated from God because of sin. That doesn't make sense.
It
Why would a
doesn't.
divine source create you, place you on earth, then withhold itself from you, only to require a ritual of guilt to get it back? That's not divine love.
I agree with you 100% on that thought process because it is not, especially when that deity set up the whole situation with full knowledge of what was going to happen. That makes no sense.
No.
And
I mean, how can you create something and say that I created you in my image?
mhm.
Okay, so even if you say that I created you in my image, then go back and look at all of the things that this God did. So where did sin really originate?
With this
If
God,
if 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 that's what you want to call it,
yeah,
because it at the beginning, according to Genesis, at the beginning,
hmm,
God created Adam and Eve.
hmm,
At least that's what the scripture says.
right,
Okay, you put a tree in the garden. Tell them they can't eat of that tree. Now that's in chapter 1 Genesis, but chapter 2 tells a different creation. Okay, what was the sin when Eve took from the tree of knowledge? The sin, they will say that the sin was disobedience.
right.
Okay, but then in actuality, she was curious because she did not know good and evil at the beginning. They knew
Mm-mm.
nothing
Nope. Didn't have a
according to
clue.
scripture. Okay. Then you turn around and punish mankind, everybody, because of these two people. It just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And it still doesn't make any further sense when this God says that he creates all calamity. And he says that no longer shall the sin of the father be cast down to the son. So why do we still believe that we're being held accountable for this disobedience according to this story? If sin is no
Right,
longer passed down.
right.
So it contradicts their own story within itself to say that.
Exactly. And of course, going back, she was curious, um,
Hmm.
and then asked Adam to bite. I mean, all of the stories throughout time, when I hear different people explanation, I've heard that Adam was actually given the knowledge. She wasn't, and he withheld the knowledge. But to me, it just
Oh,
really doesn't make any difference.
yeah, I never even heard that version.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any difference because to me, why would you put it there? To me, it's like a setup, especially if this God is all knowing. He knew that she would bite of the fruit.
Yeah,
Then you know the outcome. If you're omnipotent, then you know everything.
exactly.
Okay, so in actuality, she's being held because of curiosity, and as of from that point up until now, people refuse to listen to anything other than that, and it's almost as if they're still fearful of eating of the forbidden fruit, which is knowledge, because people refuse to pursue anything outside of what that book says.
Hmm. Even though it tells them to study and tells them to
Yeah,
get knowledge,
yeah,
they to them it is only get the knowledge of what they believe this Holy Spirit is giving them, which is really what they're being preached at, depending upon where they live.
that and the fact that they search for the knowledge from the Bible. You can't. certain knowledge from the Bible, or you can't study the Bible from the Bible, because they're quick to throw those scriptures in there, and then they're quick to throw the scripture in there. In the last days, the Bible says that um, there will be false prophets, and people will come and speak against. Okay, so the same people that wrote that will continue to keep you in fear, keep your mind where I'm afraid to step outside of what the scripture says. I'm afraid to step outside and leave all of this alone. They don't dig for truth. They're afraid. Cognitive dissonance is yeah.
And it's cult-like behavior because it isolates people into this one group where the only outlets they have is within the same group, and in this case also within the same book. And you can't just simply read that book and think that that is all the knowledge that is out there and understanding, especially when you're reading it based on what the opinions of other people were throughout time and history. And if they translated it correctly, you don't know. Most of like the reason there are 42,000 different Christian denominations is because people read the same scripture but had a difference of opinion. So you're following someone's opinion. So when they say lean not to your own understanding, I would question, okay, are you Baptist, Catholic, Methodist? What are you? And if they say they were one of those things, then you're not leaning to your understanding or the Holy Spirit understanding. You're leaning to the Catholic understanding.
Right.
Or the Methodist understanding.
Right. I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, and when I tell you, my mom was initially raised Baptist, but her grandparents, I believe, were Seventh-day Adventists. And so her dad didn't attend church on Saturday, but he made sure they followed not doing anything on the Sabbath. I had one of my aunts say that her daddy used to make them sit down on Sabbath, so they wouldn't do anything on Sabbath. I'm like, I couldn't believe that. But then my mom, again, she was Baptist. And I believe I had to have been around 5 or 6 years old, remembering when she left the Baptist church and went into the Seventh-day Adventist church. And I left the Seventh-day. I stayed too long, of course. Indoctrination, believing. I don't know if you know what the Seventh-day Adventist church teach.
Yeah, I was married to one.
You what?
I was married to one for 360 days. Just 360 days, though. Just 360 days.
Did you know?
Yes, I know.
Okay. So, yes. So, me, my husband, he was raised Baptist, but he didn't practice anything. So, it was like, he didn't care what I did, as long as he did do whatever he wanted. But that's another story. So, I left the Seventh-day Adventist church after my first grandchild was born. I always questioned everything. But even though, you know how that is, you ask the questions and then you get shut down, or either they call the cavalry on you, some other relative in the family to get you to shut it down. Because I remember questioning that scene in the Bible from the beginning. I don't know how old I was, but I remember questioning that scene in the garden when I asked my mom, how come if God is God and Satan came into the garden, if God is God, why was he allowed to come in there and tempt him? And you get them answers. You don't question God. You don't question this. And then after that, I just stopped questioning it. But in my head, I was always questioning. And so that's why I was always in the background at the churches just doing observations. And I remember one time staying up, with Seventh-day Adventists every Saturday. They doing altar call, because it don't matter. No matter what, you just sin. And I don't care what you do. You can't go out. You can't wear jewelry. You can't wear pants. You can't do nothing. I mean, literally, they monitor. Don't go somewhere, because I love wearing my big hoops. Don't go somewhere and they see you with the big hoop earrings on you. You looking to see if somebody gonna see you with those big hoop earrings on, or I wasn't ever really a big makeup girl. But yeah, it was always that condemnation. And I remember one time, one Saturday, because like I said, they always did that altar call. And I remember one Saturday when they did the altar call, the pastor asked, is there anybody in here that if Jesus Christ came down today, um, you would, you don't think that you would be going to heaven? And because of the criteria, the keeping the Sabbath from Friday sunset to Saturday sunset and all of that, but most of that Saturday thing, because they based everything on that Friday sunset, Saturday sunset thing, the mark of the beast, all of that, Ellen G. White, never listened to her, when I had a cousin used to sling them books. And I remember looking at him one day, and when he was asking me to buy the books, and I just looked at him. He was older, he's older, the same age as my mom. And I just looked at him, and my brother looked at me, and he said, "Dang, why you looked at him like that?" And I said, "Because you're not going to sell me no books about some dead white woman. I don't want to listen to y'all. You think I'm going to listen to some dead white woman?" And he just died laughing. But when he asked that question, do you think whether that you're going to heaven if Jesus Christ stepped down right now? Everybody raised their hand, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. And so when I got in the car, my kids said, "Mama, when the pastor asks, do you think that you will be going to heaven as Jesus stepped down right here, right now? And you didn't raise your hand." I said, "No, I didn't." And they was like, "Well, Mama." And I was like, look, based on all of the stuff that they're saying that it takes for me to get to heaven, I ain't going, because bottom line, everything they said to do, you might as well just sit down. I mean, they literally would come. I had a friend from hospital with 7 Adventists. He would literally come home after church and get in the bed and told her the reason he did that so that he wouldn't sin on the Sabbath. Yeah. This our lunatic. I mean, the fact that they're in your bedroom, telling you what to do in your bedroom, what to do with your children, and you. I mean, just literally, all I'm going to say is I had to study my way out of there. And then I went into a Baptist church. I learned more. But the more I began to read that Bible, it was the same questions that used to nag me before I left. And I finally put that book down and I said, you know what? Also, what really helped, I picked up this book and it was written by this guy, Dick Ennis. Mm-hmm. And the name of the book was You Can't Fly with a Broken Wing. When I tell you, when I read that book, he was a PK kid. And I was 2 chapters in and broke down crying. It takes that kind of stuff, like the way he was talking and the way he was explaining is what he went through helped him get up out of there also. And I was on the verge. And I had already put the Bible down, but then I was still searching. And then the more I searched, over the years, I just started searching different things. The different religions. Mm-hmm. It was me being 7 Adventist. Then I went on a deep search with Isaac and Jacob. I wanted to know where Isaac went after the split with Jacob. That was a deep dive search. And when I found out, you can't find it any longer. It was on YouTube, but you can't find it any longer. But I did that deep searching. And after I started doing the deep searching and realized that majority, that the Council of Nicaea, and realized that it's all up out of Europe. they're first to say, Ethiopian Bible and all that, but I studied my way out of all of it. And so now, um, just having that, I don't walk around with that fear any longer of worrying about whether I'm going to go to heaven or hell. I no longer fear any of that. I don't fear any of that. When I realized wasn't anybody coming to save me or help me,
I don't blame you. I appreciate your story. I appreciate you telling us, your journey. Uh, that was good, and especially I can relate to a lot of it because having been married to a 7-day Adventist for 360 days, and then coming out of a Baptist, coming out of the Baptist version of Christianity, and definitely questioning things since the time frame I was about 9 years old. I can appreciate your journey, and it's just reminiscent because during that 360 days, those Saturdays were interesting days. Those were days of arguments. Those were nothing more than days of arguments. I was not sitting around in no damn house or not doing whatever the hell I wanted to do because I wasn't a 7-day Adventist, at the time. Actually, it was considered a sin for her to even be with me, in which I told her that it's a sin for you to be with me when we just were dating. I said that you being with me is a sin because I'm not Christian. I'm certainly not 7-day Adventist. I'm not going to convert. I'm not going to participate in, your rituals and stuff. I did go because I went to the little meetings at church out of curiosity because I had never been, and I wanted to listen. And I did meet, and I got to know their pastor. I like that guy. We actually still talk today, so I like him. He's and he struggles.
What region?
Huh?
What region?
This in Georgia.
Yeah, they have different. Yeah, they have different regions. So you're in the Southeast East Region Conference. I mean, they have the different conferences, but even still, they're separated.
Mm-hmm.
They got the white conferences, the black conferences.
Right.
So I don't know the younger ones. I knew the older ones, and most of them, because I'm in my late 60s.
Okay.
So I know the older ones. I know some of the younger ones, but I've been going now for 27. It's been 27 years.
Well, he's about my age now. He's like 53. And this was over in the Conyers area. Yeah, this is Conyers. Well, Lithonia, Georgia area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he struggled.
They all know each other.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And you know how their money is tied to their livelihood is tied to the church. So he felt trapped that he couldn't leave because he couldn't. That's where his money was, and he had teenage kids, college age kid. So he felt compelled that he had to stay. And but I would go there, and I like talking to him, and there was a few other people I met there, and I like those people, but I was never going to submit to that religion. And the fact of the matter is, I still wore the jewelry that I wear. I still wore my jewelry because I wasn't going to submit to their wills. But on a Saturday, if I wanted to go to a cigar lounge, I went to a cigar lounge. When I reopened my business, it's open every Saturday. I'm there on a Saturday. I didn't care what she said, or because I'm not participating in your religion. But it is one of the more cultish versions of Christianity that utilizes the guilt of sin to hold people, captive in that religion. Because, like you said, almost everything you do, damn near, is a sin.
Everything.
You can't.
Everything. Yeah. I have. My mom had 8 kids. It's only 3 of us left, so it's me and 2 brothers, and my 2 brothers are heavily still in it. Again, like I said, it's been well, I said 27. My grandson is 28. I left there when he was 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and my brothers, we're together when we're doing things, like they're very supportive whenever we're doing anything for the family. But Saturdays, you can't even talk to them. That whole day is devoted, to that, to if I do talk to them, it'll be early that morning. If I need to talk to them, I call them early that morning. But outside of that, the whole day. And then of course, leaving there and leaving religion, period. I have no friends, especially when I said that I didn't believe in any of that. One of my nieces literally started crying. And I said, "Why are you crying?" And she said, "Because I love you." And I said, "You don't want to see me go to hell?" And she literally said yes. And I just started laughing. That was last December.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard from her since.
Mm. And you, so when did you leave the religions?
Like I said, let me see, my grandson was born in '97. It was it was the early 20s.
Early 20s?
Early 2000.
Okay.
Early 2000.
Early 2000 or early 2020s? Like during COVID?
Early 2000s.
2000. Okay.
Yeah, my grandson was born in 1997, and I'm thinking,
okay,
maybe 2003. The Seventh-day Adventist. I left the Seventh-day Adventist around maybe 2003. But me leaving and not going to church any longer, it was on and off, but I literally stopped going, I think maybe around 2017, right. 2018.
So although, and the reason why I asked that is because although, the older generations, we are leaving the church as well. It's not as many. And the fact that you said, you don't have any friends, that's what threw me off. That's what, caused me to pay attention, caused me to, that clicked with me, because I remember going through that process and losing all my friends and losing some family members. Well, I lost some family members who were in-laws that I considered just as much as family, but losing some of them. But, I found plenty of other new friends who are actually real friends. Because to me, anyone who would say, I cannot be your friend anymore because of a difference of religion, well, you were never my friend in the first place. And I told my family the same thing, that because I only had one instance with my family where religion was a problem. And I most certainly told them, if the only way if this family structure is simply built on us believing in the same religion and not the respect, the love, the care that we have for each other, then y'all have never been my family. Right? So I had that conversation one time with my family as a whole, and that was about like 80 people. But they recognized that it's bullshit to base your relationship simply on a religion. So we still family. But there are plenty of people. There's plenty of us out here. You are not by yourself. And I'm sure you already know that by now. But there are people out here who can be just as family, just as friends to you as the people who you thought were your family and friends. So you're not alone.
Yeah, I know. No one is actually going to say that they're not going to talk to you or be your friend. They don't actually come out and say it. They literally just show it. And even prior to me saying this, because it's been there for a minute, but it's just been these last couple of years that I speak on, because I get tired of hearing, oh God is gonna this and God is gonna that, and Jesus Christ is this and Jesus Christ is that. And so, it's hard for me to just kind of stand there, listening to that, because and I know that it was also a few scriptures, that kind of moved me to the side, because, everybody goes through changes, and everybody, goes, life be life. And then you go into the scriptures and you're looking for this strength, and you're looking for, the words that has been promised to you. And like I said, life be lifing. And then it's just this one scripture that says, "What can man do to me?" I don't know. I know it's in Psalms, I think. And like the Lord is there to protect you. God is there to protect you. He's this, he's that. And I read this, and I'm reading these, and I'm reading the scriptures, and I'm praying the scriptures, and I'm like, you know what? It asks this question, what can man do to me? And I'm like, from all of the stuff that has been going on, I'm like, whatever. Seems like whatever they want.
Right. Exactly. I agree 100%. But I appreciate you being on. I want to let some other people get a chance to come on to the show. I only do a 3-hour show. I'm not one of these people who do like 9-hour shows. But I hope
no problem.
I hope you continue to like follow this channel and we have more and more conversations. Because I think what you impart would be, gainful to everyone who listens to the show.
No problem. If I run across you again, I will definitely pay in.
All right, but it's easier when you just follow the channel.
I think I do. I think I do already. I'm looking at it at the top, plus follow.
Okay.
But you have come across my my FYP.
So we go live.
And I do stop and listen.
So I go live every Monday through Friday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time is when we go live. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Bye. Let's see. Let's get some more people opportunities. I know Justin was up here. Saw him. Oh, I guess we was too long for Justin. Let's go see if Elder Horse. Elder Hebrew.
Rising to the brother.
How you doing? Are you over 21?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And are you a believer?
69.
69. That's a good number.
Oh, yeah.
You know why I'm saying 69 is good.
Huh?
Don't pay me no attention. Don't pay me. But so are you a believer?
No, I'm not.
Okay. All
right. I used to be. I am a licensed elder. Pastor and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I came into Orisha. The Orishas, dealing with our ancestors and everything, and from that point on, I stayed with my ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
or Babalas and stuff. Horus and Osiris, and those deities that Shanghai.
Yeah.
I just recently had a heart attack, so my memory is really not sharp like it used to be. But it's getting better. I had a heart attack in June.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're still here with us.
Oh yeah, my queen brought me back here to life, so that's why yes, I'm more purpose here.
Now I can't remember. I only studied Ifa for about 2 years, so I can't remember. Is there a concept of sin in Ifa?
No.
Right.
No, there's no concept of sin. There is evil, but there's no sin.
Okay.
We're not sinners. We're not. We haven't created anything to say that we're sinners. We have bad people in our lives. That's the bottom line.
Right.
It's good and it's bad. That's real. What I look at mostly now is the fact that we as a people can come together and take back this land and bring rules to us. We can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody says they can't do it, it's ridiculous. Because we started out here. We are creation. Well, with us being creation, we have to realize that creation took a toll on us. And many of us are racially traumatized and don't even know it. Those that's talking about Jesus is definitely racially traumatized. Those talking about Allah, they're traumatized. They are.
Right.
They don't realize Because before there was any books, anything like that, we had a spiritual guidance. And we know the black woman is our gods. That's the bottom line. You know, when we came out of a woman, we didn't come out of no dirt. And I always tell people that tell me they're crazy, I say, we could have came from another planet too now. You know, to be real, we could have come from another planet. So,
it's funny that you say that because I went to one of the Elays, and I told him, I said, the Orishas, they sound more like interdimensional or interplanetary beings.
yes.
Especially like with Shango and Eshu and all them. So I was like, they sound more like some high level beings that are just more technologically advanced, and they're just maneuvering things. And I thought I was gonna get a cussing out, but actually I forgot what you call it, the guy in charge of it, Ela. He was like, it could very well be. So, and I appreciated that moment because it wasn't a fight or anything like that. And that's one of the reasons why I don't go hard on people who follow Ifa or the ancestral religion. One, because they're not trying to force their stuff on you. Two, the shit, I had it in my brain and just fell out. But the other reason is that I know that some people need to believe in something beyond themselves. And if you're going to do that, go back to your ancient stuff and stop instead of following someone else's stuff. Because this Christianity, this is a Mediterranean, and matter of fact, an East Mediterranean religion for that small group of people there. It is not for people in Europe. It ain't for people in Africa. It ain't for people in the Americas, people in Asia. It's not. It's just for that little group of people. That's it. And my ancestors don't come from those people. So if I was going to follow a religion, one of the established religions, I would have to go to something. I would rather go and say, okay, a large portion of my bloodline comes from Yoruba. So let me go and study their religion.
Yes.
Which is why I spent time, and that's why I spent some time learning Ifa.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% because I feel that we as the people, we have lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had the knowledge and not only understood the knowledge, but practiced the knowledge that we have, we can be so much greater than we are today. We already have our businesses, we have establishments, we have all sorts of things that's keeping us going. Okay? What we don't have is the unity that we really desire. We do barbershop talks here in Tampa. I'm in Tampa, Florida.
Oh, okay.
We do barbershop talks. We have men. I'm a part of a lot of different organizations right now. So we have the New Standard Group. We have the Man Up. We have barbershop talk. And we talk about everything. We talk about your relationship. We talk about your job. We talk about your kids. You talk about whatever. But we have people there that's going to lead you in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you. I plan on.
I think we as a people need to come together and realize that we can help each other. Nobody that's outside of us is going to help us, but us. Ain't nothing come out of the sky, no sky. But the ancestors are real, and the spirits of our ancestors are real too. That's much I can say. Spirits are real.
I can't agree with you on that one.
My mom and dad passed on years ago, and I talked to them, and they have conversations with me, literally. So yeah, they're real.
We'll just agree to disagree on that one because I don't see that. I don't have there's no proof. The time frame that my grandfather or any of my previous loved ones have come in and I thought that they were speaking to me, those are just dreams that I had, not so much a reality. some people look at that and say that that is real and that's proof. But to me, it's just a dream because of my connection to them, you know.
Could have been,
And
yes.
then if I'm talking to somebody who follows the Akashic record, then they'll be like, oh, well, that could have been, you know, this other person who was speaking to me. Like I had this ancient dude speaking to me one time in a dream, and one of my little Hindu associates was like, oh, that was from the Akashic record, one of your ancestors from, you know, way back. And I was like, it was a dream. It was a dream. I can't say it because I don't know if that person actually ever existed. So, you know, it doesn't work for me. Now I would hope. Now this is my hope. I don't know what happens after we die from this world. I know that energy is never destroyed. I would hope that my consciousness stays together and that instead of being dispersed out, and then I can exist on some other plane of existence. What that plane would be, I have no idea. I don't know what's going to happen there. In the same way that when you're born here, you don't know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. I'm definitely with you on it.
And let's answer this question because what we're kind of in line with this question that this one person said on here, that faith come by hearing. A while back, they said, if there is no sin, how can you be saved? The thing is, you don't need to be, in my opinion, I'll let you answer that question too. You don't need to be saved from anything other than yourself and the people that are around you, because you determine what affects you and how things affect you, and you create most of the things in your life through your decision making. So you only need to be saved from yourself, and there's no promise of an afterlife because nobody really knows. What's your thought on that, Sam?
Well, I'm agreeing with you 100% because you cannot say that you are a bad person per se. You know, they say sin is disobedience. Okay, so you cannot say that everybody has this so-called sin because everybody's not disobedient.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all have bad traits in us, but we don't always follow those traits. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if grandpa was an alcoholic, I use this to my kids all the time when I do the kids' time. If your grandfather was alcoholic, doesn't mean that you're an alcoholic. You know, doesn't mean that your mother was a prostitute, doesn't mean that you're a prostitute.
Right.
You know, those things are something that we take on and we follow because we choose to. That's a choice you make.
Right.
No one can make you or force you to do anything you don't want to do.
Exactly.
That much I believe.
And
you can do anything you put your mind to do it. You can do it.
Yeah, and the only thing that stops you is you. And you know, it's interesting to me that they believe in this Jesus character, right? And the Jesus character is saying that you should forgive your fellow brother seven times 70, right?
Yes.
But yet the God of the Old Testament doesn't do this. You know, they're supposed to be one and the same. But the God in the Old Testament doesn't forgive people like that. No, there's got to be punishments, or there has to be blood animal sacrifices in most cases in order for forgiveness to happen. But yet their Jesus just says, no, you just got to keep forgiving people for their mistakes, for their checks. You just have to keep forgiving people. That should be indicative of the same character of this God, but this God has a whole different program where it's like, no, you went against me, you didn't believe in me, you worshiped another God, so I'm gonna have the earth swallow you up, or I'm gonna burn your whole damn city and kill everybody in there, or I'm gonna kill the whole planet. So
yeah.
It's like you got two distinct minds going on. And then at the same time, this Jesus character then comes back and says that I'm here to set fire to the world and separate mothers and fathers, burn down families and all this shit too.
Yeah, all this crazy stuff.
Right. It's like this is a story going bad.
At the end, he said, but I'm a loving God.
That part. If you're a loving God, then you would never create a planet, people, a situation where all this evil can happen, and yet you do nothing about it. Like, he can tell you what to eat, but he can't stop people from getting cancer. He can tell you what linens to mix together, but he can't tell you not to have slaves, but endorses the slavery. It's just bullshit. And then he lies over and over again.
Yeah. Now, mind you, I grew up in Christianity. So, I grew up in it. I used to be a pastor and everything, whole 9 yards. Like I say, when I got to my twins here from Haiti. I got 2 twins from Haiti that's here, and they're my sons now, And they had actually got me into, it was a little bit before that, because I was into oh man, Ray Hagen. I was into Ray Hagen.
Mm-hmm.
I was into who is actually my mentor right now too.
Can you turn the TV down for me?
Huh?
Can you turn the TV down? Is
yes.
That it? Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. Turn it off all of Ray Hagen, Dr. Umar Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Anyway, Ray Hagen actually got me into transforming from Christianity into, just getting away from it, period.
Right.
We talked about how, how the Bible was written and everything. Even though I knew how it was written, I knew it was taken from the Dead Sea Scrolls and all the different things of that nature. I just didn't have that concept, on saying that I was ready to leave, Because when you're raised with something, that's what you believe in.
Jimmy?
And a belief is something, a belief to me today, a belief is what you choose. You choose to believe in it, you believe it,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I tell people, I don't have nothing against gay folks, but I don't appreciate it, I don't have nothing against them, but I don't appreciate it.
Right.
I don't study it. I don't associate myself with them. I mean, if they still happen to be in the room, then they just in the room. But that's not my nature.
Right. I understand. I'm with you. I'm saying now, when I was Christian and I was a deacon and all that stuff, I was like against all those people. Like, just because you brought up the LGBTQ community, I was 100% against them, especially growing up Baptist in Atlanta. Hey, those people are all perverted, evil. They give it into the flesh, all that stuff. I was like on it. But then the more and more I walked away from this religion, the more I just realized, you know what? Why am I angry with someone's lifestyle that has nothing to do with me?
Exactly.
Why am I casting them into this idea of sin and sin of the flesh when it ain't got nothing to do with me? As long as they're not forcing anybody else or harming anybody else, why should I care? And then I started thinking about it on this, from the God perspective. Why is this guy so caught up into what somebody's doing in their bedroom instead of what somebody's doing to someone out here in the streets? You're going to spend so much time focusing on these 2 men or these 2 women are in the bedroom consensually, but you're letting this little child over here be molested. You're letting this woman be molested. You're letting this little boy or this man be molested. You ain't doing nothing about that over there because you're so concerned about what's going on here. I walk through the streets and like, I love to go to a city and just walk the streets. And so I'm seeing all these homeless people. I'm seeing people with schizophrenia and all these kinds of things. You allowing all this to happen, but you focused on that. I see people starving, but you focus. And then when I went to a refugee camp from the Rwanda conflict, the Rwandan genocide, I'm like, you letting all this happen, but you worried about if people eating pork.
Yes.
That is not love, right?
Not at all.
And so these people get caught up into this sin, not sin. I want to go to heaven and hell, and man, It's a bunch of bullshit, because the true sin is when you do stuff against your own self. You know what I mean? When you're not living to be you and enjoying your life, now if you go and you harm yourself, the only sin you're doing is something towards yourself, not anybody else, and definitely not some God. And yet they're going to say that also, and I know I'm kind of flipping a little bit here. You got billions of people who have lived and died on this planet. You're going to say that those people were living in sin because they worship different gods, yet they never heard of your God, but they were living in sin. That's illogical. That makes no sense.
I feel you. I feel you. I feel you.
You know.
I feel you.
Yeah. Well, let me let somebody else get on here. I'm trying to keep it, where I allow people to get on here. I have a tendency to have long conversations with one individual.
Hey,
But
it's all right.
So definitely keep in contact, because I'm not going this year, but next year, November, I am coming to town. I'm coming to town.
Oh, okay.
Cigar Festival.
All right. I got you. All right, my brother.
See if they made Ybor City better. All right.
May the spirit of the ancestors continue to keep you and guide you. And no matter what nobody else say, know that you're the king of their castle.
Appreciate it.
All
right. You have a good one, Shay.
Okay, Bob.
That is one thing I used to love from when I was learning Ifa. I used to love when the women said Asheo. I can't say it the way they say it, but when they say Asheo, it just sounds so nice. I like when they say that. Oh, got a super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Keon. There is a difference between God and a creator. Would you like to express more about that? About the difference between a God and a creator? I don't want to go into what I'm thinking you're saying. What is the difference between a God and a creator? I have my thoughts, but I would love to hear your thoughts first. So I did put the link in the comments if you wanted to come on, Keon. Super chat people. They get more. They'll get more attention real quick. Some people will say that God is the creator. That's what a Christian will say, that God is, a believer will say God is the creator. Now, some people are going to say that there is a creator that creates. It's kind of like the Gnostic version. So in the Gnostic version, you have the Plamora, which is the creator, but then you have Yaldabaoth, who is then the God of this world. And so it is the false idea that the God of this world is the creator, when in truth the creator of this universe of everything is the Plamora, which is just this energy, this kind of energy deal that's going on. So I'm curious as to like how you are defining the difference between God and the creator. Right? Because there's the Gnostic version, there's the religious version, and then you may have another version that I haven't mentioned. And one of the things, like if I was, like I'm speaking to the brother who was an Ifa. One of the reasons I meant to say this, one of the reasons why I could only go so far and with Ifa is when it came to the animal sacrifices. Not that you have to do an animal sacrifice all the time or anything of that nature. And I've explained to you guys that when I found that out, when I had a reading done, I thought we just gonna be throwing I forgot what those palm nuts onto the board. Okay, Keon, so I'm putting the link in the description. All you have to do is click on that link. But to me, like I said earlier, it's really, and I was thinking about this earlier today when I was getting up. And normally when I wake up, different thoughts come into my mind because I know the show. And one of those thoughts was the fact that many Christians are not following the Jesus pathway of their belief, because oftentimes what they quote are writings from Paul. And since Paul was not with Jesus, didn't talk to Jesus, didn't know Jesus, none of that stuff, Paul is really the same way as any of your popes or early church fathers or anybody like that, merely just stating their opinion of what they thought of the Jesus teachings. And this is why there are contradictions within it, between Paul and the Jesus character. You know, so like Paul would say that Jesus was the final animal sacrifice, whereas Jesus told his people, hey, you only just keep forgiving people. And that 70 times 7 is more of an infinite type of thing. You're just continuously forgiving. Oh shit, Keon. So Keon, you're having the same problem that Fred has. It says that you need to connect your mic and camera before I can add you. You don't necessarily have to connect your camera, but in your settings or something like that, you have to go in and connect your microphone, because it won't let me bring you up. There's nothing that I can do on my side. So if you can, I'm pretty sure you can still hear me, Keon. But so whatever the connect, that's all the message I'm getting. They will need to connect their mic/cam before you can add them to the stream. So check your settings. I don't know if it prompts you to do that or not. While you're working on that, Keon, I'm gonna let Justin come up. But as soon as I see you get it right, Keon, I got you. Justin.
Yeah.
All right. What'd you say?
I said, yeah.
Okay. Are you over 21?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you a believer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I would assume you disagree. So.
Yeah, and I just heard you presented a line of reasoning, and you were like pointing it out as a contradiction. You were talking about Jesus talking about the unlimited times, or pointing towards the unlimited times that you have to forgive someone, and then Paul talking about the Jesus being the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
So where would the contradiction be in there?
The contradiction to me was, I wasn't specifying that. Well, okay, you're right. I am specifying it. The contradiction is in the fact that the Jesus character, who is before Paul,
yeah,
is saying that all you have to do is forgive people. That would indicate all you need to do is just continuously forgive and forgive and forgive. That there is no need for animal sacrifice. So. But then to present Jesus as a human sacrifice would go against the idea of a God that just forgives, because then there is no need for sacrifice. And then I don't know, I can't think exactly where it's at, but let me look at it real quick.
But I would say from what you were just quoting to me, the difference would be is that the types of forgiveness, it depends on the perspective and who's the one forgiving someone. Jesus is talking about believers or people who are trying to walk like he's walking, forgiving other humans, other people who do them wrong, versus Paul is talking about the ultimate forgiveness from God. So it's not the same forgiveness that's being spoken of.
I disagree with that, because the forgiveness of man for what supposedly, according to this Bible, separates man from God is sin, right? So when you forgive someone of that sin, then you are bringing them back to you. So if God just forgives man for their sins, then they are brought back to this God, and that disconnection is no longer there. And I think it is supported by the fact that when you look at Hosea 6:6, where it says, "For I desire steadfast love and not sacrifice, the knowledge of God rather than burnt offerings." Right?
It's a little bit difficult to hear you. It's like sometimes the things you're saying are cutting off, I think, a little bit at the lower ends. Mm-hmm. But just to paraphrasing some of the things you said to make sure we're on the right track. Are you saying that someone forgiving, or basically it's not right for God to forgive someone, or if he did forgive them, he wouldn't need a blood sacrifice? And maybe I just missed everything.
Yeah. So let me just repeat myself in more.
Yeah.
So when you look at, and I'm gonna make it even broader.
Okay.
When you look at how Judaism was moving from the time frame, say around the 7th to 6th century BCE forward, many of the writings that are attributed to that time frame, and then on into 1st and 2nd century, demonstrates that Judaism was moving away from animal sacrifice. Whether we're talking about Isaiah 1:11, where he says that I have had enough of your burnt offerings, and I have no pleasure in your blood of bulls and lambs and goats, or 1 Samuel, it's better to obey than to sacrifice. All right. Hosea 6:6 is the only one that I said to you, which was, for I desire steadfast love, not sacrifice. Right. And even in Psalms 51, when he says, you do not delight in the sacrifice, or I will bring it. Right. You do not take pleasure in burnt offerings. The sacrifices of God are broken spirits, a broken and contrite heart. Right. So when the Jesus character is saying, forgive, you've heard it been said to forgive your brother 7 times, but you should forgive I say you should forgive your brother 7 times 70, is an indication of not just the 7 times, but you should be on a continuous process of just forgiveness. And since Jesus is supposed to be God, right? And with what was being said in the latter parts of the Old Testament, animal sacrifice becomes unnecessary, blood sacrifice becomes unnecessary for repentance. And so when Paul says that Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice, it's going against the leanings of the teachings from the later centuries of BCE into the 1st centuries of CE.
Well, we have to look at the rules and regulations that have been set up within the Bible. So the act of atonement through bloodshed, through sacrificial bloodshed, has never been simply for the art of pleasuring the Father, pleasuring God. It's been for atoning for sins, and the result of that atonement has been pleasure. So there's never been a time where it was necessarily done with. Actually, the fact that the animals were sacrificed in the Old Testament was a shadow of needing an ultimate sacrifice that we see with Jesus. So when Jesus is saying to forgive an unlimited amount of times, once again, that's the forgiveness of man. That's how we emulate the characteristics of Christ in our own lives. But once again, when it comes to God, there needs to be when it comes to, spirits can't unalive, right? They're eternal. So there has to be some type of atonement for the bad thing that was done, right? That's why the devil, when he can't be forgiven. He's going to hell because he's a spirit. He messed up. There's no chance of getting that back. But as humans, being on the natural plane of existence, there's a unalivement that can stand instead of us. So that's why, once again, when Jesus came and he lost his life, I don't see how there's any contradiction. Like, obedience being better than sacrifice is more of a conceptual thing, saying that it's better to listen the first time around than to not listen and then need to sacrifice.
Well, I understand that you're not going to be able to see the contradiction because you believe you're a believer, so you're just not. But when you just speaking about spirits can't be forgiven, Psalms 51 that I was reading to you earlier goes against the idea of you saying that, the spirits can't be forgiven, because in Psalms 51, when it's talk about you do not delight in the sacrifice, or I will bring it to you. The part that I didn't finish reading was when it says the sacrifices of, well, I did say it. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit. A broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. So you're saying that, so in your thing, you're separating our existence in this matter form and saying spirit is different, and that spirits can't be forgiven. But in Psalms 51, it is saying that the sacrifice of God are a broken spirit and a broken heart and contrite heart, which is
So that's
synonymous with your spirit, but your spirit is being forgiven when you do these animal sacrifices.
no, when you're with the spirit, you have to, once again, because you have to look at it from multiple different perspectives, because that is what the Bible is, multiple different perspectives, and life is states of matter, right? We're spiritual beings having an earthly experience. So when you're that right there, when it's talking about the sacrifice of God, our broken and contrite spirit, that's talking about the heart condition of the human being. So being that you are someone who is receptive to correction, receptive to God, receptive to change, right? Admitting that you're sinful and atoning for that thing. Same thing with where Jesus comes and actually expounds on that when he talks about the parables of the seeds falling on rocky ground, fertile ground. I know you're familiar with that parable in that passage. So when we're dealing with, once again, spirits, a spiritual being like the devil or the angels that fell with him, they're not human beings having an earthly experience, right? Like, yes, we're spirits coming from the concept of the Bible, but we were created to live here. We were not eternal. And then like our part of our creation was being here on the earth, whether we were supposed to be here eternally or whatever. We were never human beings spiritually, like in the sense of just not having a flesh. But the devil was. So in the time where he sinned, there was no what part of him could have unalived?
When
right?
did
The same with us.
when did the devil sin against God?
The Bible doesn't denote exactly, but definitely before creation.
Really? How do you know that?
Well, the fact that like when it was all created, he was already here and already sinned. Like it says that he fell down. He was cast down.
When does it say he was cast down? Where?
The Garden of Eden.
The Garden of Eden. So in Genesis it says he was cast down.
Story, yeah.
There's nothing in Genesis that talks about the devil being cast down.
Well, in Revelation it says that John saw the dragon being casted down like lightning.
That is something that happens after the 7 bowls and trumpets and all that. So that's something that hasn't happened yet.
So you're saying that the devil hasn't been cast out of heaven?
When that's what you're saying. So when does it happen? I know where you get that idea from. I'm trying to see if you know where you get that idea.
All I'm saying to you is, regardless of if we're going to say that it's at this point, that point in time, we can look at the fruit of life.
No, we can't. So in order for your argument to stand on foundation, and that foundation being about the spirit and the human life, and the spirits can't be forgiven because they rebelled against God, where is this rebellion? There's nothing in your Bible that would indicate this rebellion other than, I'm gonna go ahead and just answer it for you, other than people like in Jude quoting the book of Enoch, because your entire concept of a rebellion in heaven comes from the book of Enoch, which is not. Do you believe the book of Enoch is God inspired?
Yeah, I believe that.
So you read Bibles that have the book of Enoch?
Not necessarily, but I do believe that there was definitely some truth in that book.
So the book of Enoch was written in around the 2nd, 3rd century BCE.
Okay.
This book was written as fan fiction because people were asking the question, well, what happened to this Enoch? So somebody made the story up in around the 2nd century BCE.
I believe that when you read the book of Enoch, it gets into explaining, it actually is more spiritual than, or talks about the spiritual more than other books of the Bible. And I feel like it explains a lot of things that we see around us. And just the concept, once again, of the spiritual realm. So
what do you know? So what does the book of Enoch teach you about that specifically?
Specifically, once again, a concept like just the reality of the spirits themselves. Like, once again, the other parts in the Bible don't really talk about actual entities well, they do talk about entities, but I'm hoping you can kind of follow my drift here. Like, it doesn't go into so much detail as Book of Enoch. I'm not claiming to be a scholar in it. I'm just
see. I'm questioning whether you've actually read the Book of Enoch, because the Book of Enoch goes into details about those spirits. It gives you the names of those spirits.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the Book of Enoch does that. I'm saying the other books that are in the Bible don't do that as much as the Book of Enoch. But I'm saying I'm not entirely familiar, like down to quoting a scripture the way I can with other books. But I know the concepts within the Book of Enoch are a bit deeper and more spiritually telling than the normal books in the Bible.
Okay, so you believe in the Book of Enoch, but you don't read a book. You don't follow a Bible that has the Book of Enoch. Why not?
Well, I just off of the strength of what I've been reading and what I've been able to learn by God's grace, I guess I just feel like that's been enough. I'm led by the Spirit of God. The Bible is more so it teaches you about God. It doesn't teach you, it doesn't give you a personal relationship with him. It just teaches you about him, and then you build that relationship with him.
So if it's teaching you about God, and I went over about 4 different parts that says that sacrifices are unnecessary, pretty much.
No, it is, once again, that was your interpretation. Even when you brought up the obedience is better than sacrifice, that doesn't mean that sacrifice is unnecessary. It's very necessary. It's actually the crux of the Bible, needing to be sins needing to be atoned for.
So here's the thing: if someone says, so it says you do not delight in sacrifice, or I would bring it. So the or I would bring it, does that not indicate that if I want to sacrifice, I will bring you the sacrifice? But since you
do not, it said you do not delight in sacrifices, or I will bring it. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where?
Psalms 51.
All right, let me get that as well. Let me get it as well.
Or even better, Isaiah 1:11 is even better. I have had enough of your burnt offering. I have no pleasure in the blood of bulls and lambs and goats.
Well, yes, because once again, when you're talking first, because then you'd have to read the context and see what else the Father is speaking about in this passage. But when he's speaking, he's expressing a concept that he does not delight in the pattern of needing this. He would rather, once again, obedience. He would rather there be a consistent fellowship with his people versus consistently needing the blood of bulls, rams, or whatever other thing is being sacrificed. So it's not saying that sacrifice is done away with, because obviously they kept sacrificing after this part in the Bible that you're quoting. It's saying that the need for it should be diminished. He doesn't want his people to be so obsessed with their own things that they want to do that they consistently have to sacrifice.
They don't need to consistently sacrifice anything. Period. Well, we can go back to, we can go back to Genesis. When Cain killed Abel, he told Cain that sin crouches at your door, but you have the power to overcome it. So there was no need for a sacrifice for the sin of the mistake of killing Abel.
Well, no, because even based on what you said, even if God is saying he has the power to, it doesn't mean that he did overcome it. Like you're looking at it from, he's not. It
doesn't matter if he overcame it or not. It just says this is God of your book telling Cain that Cain has the power to overcome sin. And there is no sacrifice. He's just saying you can have the power.
When you're looking at that excerpt as if he's saying you have the power to atone your own self. He's saying that you have the power to not sin anymore, like to basically take a stand against sin and continuing to sin. He's not saying that you can like you're your own God and you can make yourself right. That's just the whole Bible. That would contradict the whole Bible. That's not what it's teaching. The whole thing about the Bible, sin is a transgression against God, against God's laws. That's what it is.
That's what you believe that it is, not by definition, because Judaism had different definitions of sin before Christianity came around, or before.
We're talking about the Christian Bible, bro.
What a Christian Bible is stands on the foundation of the Torah, right? Without the Torah, do you have Christianity?
Of God's law. That's why he literally comes and says, "If you love me, keep my commandments." What are we doing here?
You're doing conscientious bias or conscientious
How is
dissonance.
that bias? That's what I'm saying. Is
Because I just can you have Christianity without the Torah?
No.
Exactly. So if the Torah is saying that you have the power to overcome sin, then you have the power to overcome sin without sacrificing animals.
That doesn't say that. I'm saying what you are interpreting from that statement is wrong.
Oh, because you stand on that Christianity is right. That's the only reason you're saying it's wrong.
Even it being consistent with the Torah in what you're saying, if they had the power to overcome sin, there would be at least one person before Jesus within the Torah that was able to do the overcoming of sin without an animal sacrifice. And can you point me to that person? Who is the person before Jesus who was perfect and in the means of actual sin where they never had to sacrifice an animal? The way Jesus never had to sacrifice.
This guy said that Job was perfect in all his ways.
So you're telling me that Job never sinned?
I'm just telling you what your book says.
Yes, I know what the book says, but once again, your interpretation.
He said Job was
wrong.
What is wrong? How can it be wrong? He said Job was perfect in all his ways. What the hell does that mean?
Job was perfect in all of his ways because there was an order that the Father instilled or installed that Job followed to the T. So when he did wrong, because
when did Job do wrong?
When
did Job do anything wrong? Where does this say that Job did something wrong before this guy?
That's what I'm saying. So when God in human form, Jesus came here on this earth, he was saying that there is not one good man, right? So that by nature would contradict your statement if you're taking the title perfect as if he never sinned.
It doesn't contradict my statement. It contradicts what the Bible says.
It's okay, right?
It's contradicting the Bible. It's contradicting the Torah.
Teaching, right? So follow me here. So we just pointed out that if we follow your interpretation, that would be a contradiction.
Not my interpretation, my guy. That's what I'm trying. That's what you're not understanding.
Oh, okay, whatever. You believe the Bible says that. I believe something different. So regardless of whatever you want to call it, that is our two different interpretations. You're claiming that your interpretation is the real truth. Which I'm claiming
stop saying it's my interpretation because it's not. It's what it says.
Okay, bro. You're so pressed on that one word. So forget the word interpretation. What you're saying that the Bible says, or what the Bible says according to you, let's say that.
No, that what it says according to me is what it says according to the book itself.
That's nice. So where when I read this and it says that Job was perfect, and then but it seems to contradict Jesus' statement where Jesus says that there's no man that was good. When it says that Job was perfect, it's not talking about his lack of sin or lack of sinful nature. It's saying that in the institution that God put on the earth, which is the atonement of sins through sacrifice, and basically coming back to your first love when you make a mistake, Job was perfect. So there was never a time where he set up a ram and decided to go sin and was like, yeah, I have this ram set aside for
you're doing some mental gymnastics to
not
do
at
this
all. It's
because it clearly just says that Job was perfect and an upright man who feared God and shunned evil. So it's saying Job was perfect. Now that's just your Bible contradicting your Bible. You can call it my interpretation. You can call it all these things. That's all it is. Okay, but yeah.
Bro, think about it this way.
I gotta let this other guy come up because I told him once he gets his stuff right, I was gonna let him come up. But I'll be more than happy to bring you back up. But I told this guy he was having problems before you, and I try to keep it in order.
Gotcha.
But I don't want him to sit here too long. Okay.
Gotcha, man. You have a blessed day.
All right, you too. Be sinless now. Be sinless. Be sinless. It's amazing. They don't want to accept what their own book says. That always amazes me. Keon.
Yes, sir. How you doing, brother?
Now, real quick, Keon, because what did you do to make your microphone and camera work so that you can come on here? Because this dude, Fred Adams, always trying to come on the show, but his thing keeps saying the same thing, but he can't figure it out how to make his work. So what did you do? And I hope Fred is listening.
Okay, so what happened was when you go on, you hit the button and it asks you to allow the camera and the microphone. Okay, now I hit the button no because I would just wanted to do the microphone. But when you do that, when you hit that button, it doesn't allow you. Now it blocks you. Okay. So when you get blocked, then you have to go back into the settings and do a whole nother thing. So what I did was I have 2 accounts. So I just hopped on my other account and just allowed the microphone. But then when you allow the microphone and everything, it allows you to select what you want to put on. And now that's how I came on.
So did you hear that, Fred Adams? Let me be clear, because Fred Jones be messing with me when I just say Fred. All you got to do is when you click on the damn thing is allow camera and microphone, and then it will allow you to click on what you want to show, right?
Correct, exactly. It goes to give you those options, correct.
Now I know Fred be having struggles with things, so hopefully Fred can understand that simple thing right there.
Yeah, me too. I'm kind of new at this too, definitely.
Nah. Don't even try to make excuses for Fred. Don't try to make excuses for him. I'm not tired of Fred Adams. Always got stuff to say. He gonna get me in Yeshua's name, but he can never get on the show. Bullshit. So you had made the comment about there's a difference between a God and a creator, and I didn't want to speak for you. So what's the difference?
All right, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about me first because I'm only going off of my own. I can only speak for myself first, right? So I don't adhere to any type of religion or any type of ideology except for what I learned and what I've been through, and I just use my own understanding, and that's how I live my life off of. You know, if that makes sense. You know, I grew up, started off with Baptist, then I also went through my Jehovah's Witness years. I was more Jehovah's Witness, more than Baptist for up to my 20s, you know. I stopped going to the Kingdom Hall early, but I still have my, you know, my Bible studies and everything, like, you know, until, you know, I just started reading other books. Like you was mentioning, I started reading other books. I broke away from Jehovah's Witness based off, honestly, I believed them to a certain point, but then once you start looking into the foundation itself and the creator of that institution, because I'm a history person too. I love history, right? So I never actually looked into Jehovah's Witness. Like my mother brought us up on it. That's what we did, you know? But then once I started looking into Jehovah's Witness and finding out this and this and that, I'm like, hold on. Okay. And so then I started just doing my own little, you know, mission for information, knowledge, you know? So I came up with creator because I look at it like this, right? Like you said, basically a little bit about the energy. I'm a big energy, okay? Because the whole world works off of negative and positive. You have all different elements that we work with. When we look at, I look at what I see. I go by what I see. I read what I read, and I understand because, like I said, I read all these books, and all the books, they basically say the same thing to me. Like I've been through the Book of Enoch, the Gilgamesh books. To me, perfectly, the Egyptology is they explain it a little bit different because, you know, when they speak about their gods, and that's what I'm going to get to, their gods aren't really like gods, guys. It's reference to what we see on the planet, you know? So that makes more sense than saying we have an almighty God that's this, that, and the third, and boom, boom, boom. When no, the gods that they're believing in, or what their, you know, terms that they consider a God is based off of what they see, the air, the sun, the this and that. So that makes more sense to me a little bit. So I get that. So I'm a little bit like that. So when I believe as a creator, something created everything. I don't know what you want to call it. And I'm not saying him, her, whatever, but I do see on the planet, it's a female and masculine energy. You have female and masculine energy. You have negative, positive. So to me, that energy or whatever happens and boom, it created what it created. Now, I'm going to tell you like this, right? As a creator, let's say you created a building. I created this building, boom. I built the building, boom, boom. That's my creation, right? Now, once you created that building is sold, you're going on to create another building. How often do you go back to check that building that you created? No, you created it, you move on to the next thing. So what you do, whoever bought the building is now God of that building.
Mm-hmm.
Now the people within that building look at that landlord as, oh, he controls everything in this building. If you understand where I'm coming from, if that makes sense. So to me,
yeah, it's Gnostic.
A creator just created and it happened. And now that's why we have the trees and the plants and this and everything. Like the planet works as it works because it was made to do what it does. Like everything has a purpose as far as the creation was made. Now, I'm not saying who created it, he, she, or nothing like that, but I understand that this is creation. These plants, like the regular creation, nothing man-made. You understand? Nothing man. We're not talking man-made stuff because the gods, to me, is what's man-made. They have to understand what this creation is. So in order for them, they can't explain the creator. They can't explain it because you don't know what it is really. So they come up with these gods to explain the creation, if that makes sense.
No, I understand. Yeah.
You know, so that's where I come from it. And I understand that now I live in my own universe. I live my life and I analyze a lot. I analyze everything. Like I was brought up, where I grew up at, you got to. So I analyze myself a lot. So I'm very self-aware. So as long as you're self-aware, you live on this planet and this is just my own ideology. And this is what I go according to. And that's why I said, I do understand the creation of the creator. And I'm not saying when you pass, like, I don't believe in sin and all of that. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't believe in none of that. I don't follow any of that ideology. But,
Have you ever studied the Gnostic philosophy?
No.
A lot, I ain't gonna say everything that you described, but a lot of what you described would follow along the Gnostic philosophy. And the Gnostic philosophy, and you can find a lot of those writings, even though it's still Jesus-centric, they're within the Nag Hammadi library, where it is the concept of the Plamora is the creator. Then the Plamora created Sophia, which is wisdom, which is and the Plamora represents both the masculine and the feminine energy. The Sophia represents the feminine energy, but then the Plamora and the Sophia created the demiurge or the Yaldabaoth, which is just pure masculine energy. The Yaldabaoth, without the guidance of the Sophia, so without the masculine and the feminine together, then created the earth and simply looked to trap souls on the earth so that they wouldn't return to the Plamora, but through knowledge, you then can return back to the Plamora, back to the balance of masculine and feminine energy, right? That's kind of like in a nutshell, the Gnostic ideology. And then also some of what you described would be part of the Hermetic thought process of the all. And the all just created simply just because it created, doesn't have all these rules and Geppettos, everybody around, but within the creation, there are the 7 Hermetic principles. And those 7 Hermetic principles guide everything in the universe, and everything functions on those. And one of the big ones is the principle of gender, that in order to create anything, there must be masculine and feminine energy present and in balance for whatever it is that is creating. Doesn't mean they're perfectly balanced, because some things need more masculine to create, some things need more feminine to create, but they work together at all times in order to create. And then, of course, there's the law of vibration, correspondence, polarity, rhythm, cause, effect. And mentalism is the big one where it talks about the all.
Frequency and all that.
Yeah, and that the simplest book for that, I wouldn't tell you to go read the Corpus Hermeticum first, but the simplest book would be the Kabbalion. But the Corpus Hermeticum would be like more of an extended version of that.
You said the Kabbalion?
Kabbalion.
All right, and how you spelling that one real quick for me, please?
Kyballion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Thank you, brother.
You'll probably definitely like the Kabbalion.
Mm-hmm.
Because like one of the principles of mentalism is that all is mental, the universe is mental. So that everything is a mental creation. And when you further think about it, your entire life, like you said earlier, you live within your own universe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when we meet people, it's just our universes colliding. When
Exactly.
other causation affect, even when you don't meet people, but other people's causation affect you,
Mm-hmm.
colliding with their universe in that instant.
Mm-hmm.
But we all are living in our own universe. And it is understanding those 7 principles that would flow into the Gnostic understanding of gaining knowledge and understanding so that you can then manifest your own universe no matter what plane of existence you're in, which that's more the law of correspondence, existing on different planes.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll like that part too,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
it talks about the human mind, the animal mind, the spiritual mind, all these different planes of existence.
And
But
see, brother, I'm sorry to cut you up, but see, because you hit it right there, because that's what I always speak with my friends and stuff, right? It's like it's you you have a creation of man, woman, and then you have animals, which you have the male and female animals. Now, what makes us different than animals? I'm gonna ask you, what makes us different than animals?
the power of reasoning and self-introspection.
Exactly. And if you don't have that, to me, I think you act like an animal. You don't have that aspect of being a human being. So I get a little bit slack for it, but that is the big difference between us. And if you act like that, I call you out on it. Because that's my whole point. I want to be. My whole point is, and I'm not gonna say it like to my knowledge. Like I said, everything is my own perspective. When I come to it, it's like I believe I know what a man is, and I'm trying to live like a man should live, if that makes sense. And I want to be the right man that I have planning for myself, and that's how I'm going to live on this earth until I, you know, transition. And then after transition, I'll be honest, I don't know what happens past that, but I do know, however I transition or whatever happens, I was the best man in this plane right now. You feel me? And hopefully, if it is another plane that I go to, if it is something else, I'm gonna go towards the higher energy because of the plane that I just left from. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you're really gonna like the Kabbalion then. If your thought process is in that pattern, well, ain't no if your thought process is in that pattern, so you're really gonna like the Kabbalion. And then after the Kabbalion, read the Corpus Hermeticum. You're gonna like it. Now, when you read some of those things, like in Corpus Hermeticum, when it starts talking about some other deities and shit, it might throw you off a little bit because it's pulling from with the not that bullshit Emerald Tablets by Doriel, but older versions of what they believe they're pulling from the Emerald Tablets. You'll like it. You'll like it.
Okay.
But don't ever bother with the Emerald Tablets by Doriel. That's Doriel.
Yeah, I mean, I looked into that. I looked into that a little bit too because I use most of those books like that. I'll be honest with you. The only one that I know is the Bible. Like I can give you scriptures and stuff like that. I know scriptures, but I don't know scriptures. You know what I'm saying? Like the dude was trying to explain earlier about the devil was casted down and this and and in Revelations, I believe, and I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know the scripture, but if I'm not mistaken, it did say where Michael and the devil had a fight and he was casted down. And I think that's what he was referring to, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah. And that's in the book of Enoch. And I doubt if he's actually ever read the book of Enoch.
Okay. Got you.
Based on his ability to discuss it, his lack of ability to discuss it, I don't think he's ever read that. And then you can't use a book to prove a book.
Yeah, of course not. Of course. Exactly.
You have to be able to see things outside that book in order to prove it. But yeah, I mean, that whole battle in heaven and stuff, which is an old teaching. The Sumerians had a battle in heaven. The Akkadians. Exactly. Hinduism, which is older than the whole Israelite teachings, there was a battle in heaven, in the heavens. all these most religions, I ain't gonna say all, but most religions have a battle in the heavens of the gods. Even to the Greek mythology, there's the gods fighting the Titans. There's this battle in the
Yeah, of
heavens.
course.
They all got that bullshit. Now, here's another book that you might like, since you say you other religions and you hadn't studied them. Let me bring my picture up so you can see it.
Okay.
It's gonna be hard to find. I'm gonna show y'all two TikTok. Just say. But this book, now the heat of San Antonio, and I melted the plastic around it. I should take it off. Can you see it?
Jesus, Buddha, Joshua, and
Krishna.
Lazu.
Krishna and Lao Tzu.
Oh, Krishna. Okay, got you.
This is a great comparative book.
Okay.
And let me show you the TikTokers. This is a great comparative book. This is one of the few books I was able to save from my library before it got lost. But this book here is a great comparative book. Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and Lao Tzu. So if you want to look at some comparative, and yesterday, I think it was yesterday, a gentleman said that all these religions seem to be saying the same thing. And I agree with that to a certain extent, that they are all saying the same thing. But this comparative, because it's the parallel sayings, and that's the actual, it's Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and Lao Tzu, the parallel sayings. And a lot of the parallel sayings that they are attributing from the Jesus character actually come from writings of the Nag Hammadi library, the Gnostic point of view.
Okay. Now I will say this though, like now, with the Jesus thing, like I don't believe in the Jesus part of where it walked on water, did the wine, and I don't believe in that part of it, right? But I would say even with what's that Muslim who used to do Farad, was the Farad who started the Islam?
Oh, WD
or Muhammad?
Yeah,
he started
Islam. He started the Nation of Islam.
Farad started the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's my fault. All right, so him and all these so-called who started the religions, right? Now, I'm not saying that they all bad men. I'm not saying that they did all the things that they say they do in these books and all that either. But I do believe, like, I'm a spiritual seeker, right? I'm a spiritual seeker. So I can see another man spiritually seeking and, coming into his own divinity, and it gets misconstrued because now we all know it's about control with all these things and manipulation to control the people and force their own agenda. We understand the politics of the religion anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Rod was a con man.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, but I don't deny that there are men out there that could have been like that. Not saying that there are these people that we talk about in these books, but personally, I think I've been a good man. I transitioned. I never was a perfect. I didn't come out the womb, perfect or nothing. But as far as I become right now, yeah, I'm getting better with my spirituality and everything.
Hold on. You came out the womb perfect.
I mean, okay, got you. Okay, you're right. You
learned to do some messed up stuff.
Yeah. You're right. Definitely, I agree with you. Yeah, but you know what I mean. So I don't deny those men as far as men because if we do need people that actually see that there are men that's out there, so other men can inspire to be like that. That's how what I'm saying. If that makes sense, we just got to get them to understand it's in a figuratively speaking, or get them to understand the other side of it as well. But inspiration is inspiration, no matter where it comes from. That's why I don't knock religion as it is, because if anything makes you a better man or a better woman, I'm with you, But at the same time, if you talk to me, I'm going to tell you what I believe in. You know what I'm saying? I got my opinion. I'm just speaking for myself. I don't speak for anyone else,
No, I'm with you. And I fully understand what you're meaning between God and the Creator.
Yeah.
At one point, especially if you go back to my videos back in the 2015, 16, 17, I definitely was more Gnostic in my thought process and was leaning more in that direction. So, but without the God stuff, without the, I understood the Plamora but I saw all those things as, like you said, figuratively or as analogies, not so much as that's what it was. I think that's because I still have to take into my mind that those were people writing in 1st and 2nd century with the lack of scientific knowledge that we have today.
Exactly.
But I do see them as they were trying to enlighten people beyond the controls of religion. Because like one of the aspects you'll find in the Gnostics, especially in the Gospel of Thomas, and the Gospel of Thomas is somewhat Gnostic, somewhat not, but it takes away the power and control of the church and of government, right? And which is one of the reasons I believe that book was definitely considered to be heretical, because it equated, well, at first I thought it equated men and women as equal, but it really didn't. It just said that women will be turned into men in order for them to receive the kingdom of God, which I thought was stupid as hell.
Crazy.
But it does say that you don't need priests, you don't need a building, you don't need all that kind of stuff to commune with God, return back to God. When not say God, return back to the Plamora. That you don't need cheap preachers and all that shit. You don't need a church. So it disrupts the establishment. Right. So you'll like the Gospel of Thomas too. It's just like I think it's like 114 sayings. It's not like written in a narrative.
Okay, it's something like the Mayat. The Mayat flowed up. Yeah,
kind of like that. I mean, it does have a little bit of like narrative. Like it'll say that the apostles asked Jesus this, and then they talk. But it's just that short little part. It's not a continued story. And then he walked and went to this city and did not. It's not like that.
Okay. I gotta look into that. I've heard of it, but I just never thought about looking into it. But okay, got you.
And I think about 3 years ago, I did a couple of lives where we went through every saying of the Gospel of Thomas.
Okay.
I would definitely say if I was doing that right now, some of the things I would say now would be different than what I said about 3 years ago. Because it's a growth. We all grow. You stop growing. Like that's what the law of vibration mixed in with the law of polarity and the law of rhythm teaches, is that there's no such thing as death and there's no such thing as stagnation. You either vibrating higher or you're vibrating lower at all times.
Exactly.
And the goal is to continuously move to the right, and then you want to polarize yourself to the right. And the right side is the higher vibration, and the left side is the lower vibration. Nothing political about that.
Exactly.
But it's just you want to keep going to the higher vibration. And then if you do hit a point, as soon as you see yourself going back to the lower vibration, you got to quickly recognize it, understand it, and start moving back to the right. It's a continuous movement to higher vibrational thoughts, actions, and words. You want to keep moving in that direction, which you'll find that a lot of that is similar to the teachings of Lao Tzu, which is the Tao Te Ching. That's similar to alchemy, is similar to the Buddhist teachings, that you're constantly growing into a higher vibrational mindset, words, and actions, which makes you a better person, a better man, a better woman, just a better being in itself.
Just a better exactly. Yes, sir. And I would say this too, because like I said, I like to analyze, right? So what I also add on to that, right? So as value, because like you said, it's always a balance. So if you do see yourself, to me, this is what I do. Once I see myself going to that lower vibration, I want to understand how I got there first, recognize it to get back to there, so I don't have to do it again. I don't want to get back to that low vibration, especially on that, whatever it is that's bringing me there. You feel me? You want to analyze why you got there, and then, hey, boom, let's move on, and let's not get back there. We saw that once. Now, if you get another thing, it's like not saying, because it's going to go back and forth unless you know how to maintain it.
Yeah.
That, but you got to understand why you're going back and forth as well. That's why you want to analyze every situation. To me, that's how I look at it.
No, I agree. I actually expressed that thought last night. So last night, me and my wife, we was at Cigar International, and we was talking to a gentleman that we've met there a couple of times, and we were talking about in our youth and in our adulthood when we got into physical altercations.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is an example of that thought process and the introspection that you was talking about, because while we was talking about it, I talked about the last time I got into a physical altercation, which was in 1999, and I avoided other physical altercations that happened more recently, but there's a part of me that wants to rehash that altercation, because even though I won, I didn't win the way I wanted to win, And so I still have this thing in my head that if I see this dude, I want to have that physical altercation again, because I want to win the way I want to win. But even as I sat there and we was talking about it, I was able to say, I know that the only reason I think that way sometimes is because of my own ego. Truly, it's actually my own id, not ego. But it's my own id that makes me think that way, that makes me want to do that. But I did say, if I were to see this dude again, I would not do it.
Bang, bang.
Even if I'm thinking it at that time frame, because I know I will think it, but I wouldn't do it.
Exactly.
Because I'm not operating on that vibration anymore, where where my life has to play itself out the way I want it to play itself out.
Exactly.
Even when reality showed me something different. So
exactly, brother.
So it's that continuous growth. Because I ain't gonna lie, when it happened in '99, and then
99.
Yeah, and here's the thing about it. It happened in '99. I was on terminal leave from the Marine Corps. So I didn't seek that dude out again, because if I got in trouble, then it could mess up my terminal leave. But after I hit my date that I was completely out of the Marine Corps, I actually sought him out. I was looking to find this joker.
Oh man, you sound like my boy.
But then I had to realize, like, you know what? I got my new baby was just born. I got my husband, I got my kids, I got a family. I don't have time to go do this. Like, what am I doing? What are you thinking? And from that moment on, my thought vibration concerning that issue, dissipated.
Yeah.
Ain't completely gone. But it's under control.
It's under control. That's all you need. Exactly. As long as it's under control, no doubt. You got to control it.
And that goes to what I was trying to tell the guy, Justin. When this God told Cain that sin crouches at your door, but you have the power to overcome it.
Yeah, I understood that.
It crouches. There's a door right over here. It crouches at that door. And I want to go and find Steve. I ain't gonna tell y'all his last name, but I want to go find Steve, and I want to win the way I wanted to win. Right. But I choose not to, because I have the power to overcome what they would call a sin.
Exactly.
And it would be a sin to myself, because what if I kill him? Because I almost did in that first altercation. Right. So what if this time I do?
Wait, and you didn't wait. You almost did that, but you don't feel like you won how you supposed to. How was you supposed to win then? That's close enough, man.
Well, he got a face shot on me. That's
okay.
Two, he also caught me off balance, and I fell backwards down his heel, but I grabbed him and flipped him over. You remember that old football drill? So I flipped him over. So even though I was off balance and I went back, I still grabbed him and flipped him over so that he wouldn't be able to take advantage of me on my back. So the fact that I fell, and he got a face shot on me. No one ever, that's the first person in my whole life that's ever got a face shot on me.
Oh, you took that personal. Okay.
Exactly. So it's the id, man. My id is.
Yeah, I understand that.
So, that's why. I almost crushed his larynx, and I was about to, but my brother stopped me.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't want to be. So now, what if that happens now?
Mm-hmm.
And my brother's not there to stop me.
Yeah.
I let my id take over, and now I probably would do more damage to him than I did that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I go to jail, now my grown children got a jailhouse father. My
Mm-hmm.
wife, I would tell her to divorce me because don't be married
You
to
already know.
some man foolish enough to get into a fight on purpose,
Exactly.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then go to that length. I'd be like, you need to go live your life because I'm stupid. You're
Mm-hmm.
deserving of something better than this. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that what they call sin doesn't it may crouch at my door, but I overcome it, which is
Yeah.
there is need. So this whole idea of sin is stupid. It is just what is within ourselves, right?
Exactly.
Anything outside of us, and it's just decisions that we make. You know, and I'm too old to be fighting anyway. I'm 53. You got time for that bullshit.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. Well, that's over. That's why you got to know how to control it, and you get money.
All
You
right.
know, and you move on. And to me, I'll be honest with you. I believe I'm like 48. I think 47.
Oh, you getting
Um,
old. When you start forgetting how old you are, you getting old.
yeah. But I grew up the whole witness, so I never really celebrate birthdays. So
Oh,
I just stopped
yeah.
counting anyway. You know what I mean? Honestly, I don't celebrate nobody's birthday. They be mad, but I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like at this point, I'll be honest, bro. I'm more so worried about my health than anything else. You know, I said to myself, growing up, colonoscopy. What? Do no colonoscopy? You don't do who? Do what? To who? Nah, I ain't doing that, brother. I done had a colonoscopy recently, and I'm so glad I did that. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm just being, not to get personal, but you know what I'm saying. It's just we got to do health issues and help keep up with our health. Change a
No,
whole lot of things.
I'm with
Honestly, at
you.
this point, that
Black
actually help us
black men,
elevate.
black men especially, men period, but black
Men,
men especially ignore their health
yeah,
more than anybody damn else. We do that. And I'm with you. I hated going to get that damn colonoscopy, but every man
you
on here
know.
over the age of 45, you need to
Mm-hmm.
do it. So, it's you ain't gonna like it, but at least they put you to sleep and then you just wake up.
Yeah. This is true. That's exactly what happened too. This is
Mhm.
true. You know.
I don't know. Everybody's stomach and stuff don't hurt afterwards, but I mean, mine did. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
don't do it. I know you don't want nothing going up there, but
Yeah, man, listen, it's birthday. My man, and he actually got me to because he's ex-military as well, and he's a little bit older. I think he's about 52, maybe 53 as well, and
mm,
he actually got it done and actually saved his life.
yeah,
So it's like, so he talked to me, and he actually talked to him and my grandmother. Of course, I talked to my grandmother. She was telling me. So I said, you know what? That it sounds like grown man stuff to do, and I'm trying to be a grown man and take care of myself as a grown man. You feel me? Let me go do some grown man stuff.
yeah,
You feel me?
grown man
You know
shit.
what I mean?
I'm with
Yeah.
you. But I
You know what I'm
appreciate
saying?
you, man. I'm gonna let
Yeah.
another person come up. I appreciate you tremendously. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Now I don't want everybody to think that you got to give a super chat in order to get on here, but I will give special attention to the people who do like super chats or gifts and things of that nature because it's not out of my desire to get it. It is out of the respect of the fact that it was given.
And I appreciate you too, but I do because I listen to you all the time. I'm on your live. I mean, I'm on your roll every time I scroll on my YouTube, bro. I see you every couple of joints because you put it out there. I see you, but I just wanted to appreciate you. You enjoy the rest of your day, brother. Have a good one, man.
Appreciate you, and I'll be making some more videos today.
Yeah, I want to we're gonna if you can, I'm gonna reach out to you. I really want to reach out to you because I love your thought process and everything about stuff. If that's okay with you,
That's
I
fine.
just want to be. If that's okay,
That's fine.
all right. Thank you, brother. Have a good one.
Appreciate you too. Thank you, Keon.
All right, you welcome. Bye bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Hold on, low. I'm coming to you. Yeah, y'all go get them colostomies. Not colostomies. What the hell is it called? Shit, I just forgot it. Don't let them check your butt. You ladies too. Don't let them check it out. I had 2 brothers in my lounge had to deal with that stuff, and I saw what they went through. So I was like, yeah, let me get this done. Let me get this done. Gotta get that colonoscopy. That's what's going on. Low. What up, Mike?
What's up, Coach Rams? I just started listening. I'm more so looking at your topic. No one is more into sin or sinner.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say that I've come to that same conclusion.
Good. I know you on the fence. You still got 1 foot on the fence, so good.
Yeah, I come to that conclusion because once I realized that the Genesis account is a fable.
Yeah.
Once you realize that's a fable, then the whole concept breaks down. Everything breaks down. The whole idea of Adam sin. I mean, so the whole New Testament, philosophy or of sin and concept of sin when it comes to us being saved by Jesus and all that. That all falls away once you figure out that's a fable. So it didn't actually happen. It's not real. And even with that, it kind of sent me into another journey where I really think I understand where the whole concept even came from.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think it came from?
Well, I think all these religious ideas that we have, they're kind of extensions of just our primal, kind of like our primal natures and our shared community. You know what I'm saying? Us being even raised. They say like when you got a child, when a child is born, child comes in not knowing good from evil, don't know nothing, don't know nothing, no different. But in the way we train our child, in the way that we reward or we punish, we teach them right from wrong. And that develops, that's where we develop this conscious, this type of guilt for when we do something wrong. Even though, because even with animals, dogs have a conscience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, they realize when they do something wrong. When they poop in the house, and you train them not to, when they poop in the house, they have guilty conscience. They actually know that they did something wrong. You know what I'm saying? You see those things. I mean, it took me a while to even see that, but I think all this stuff is just a development of that. This is how we are raised together, the community.
Mm-hmm.
You have these issues, what's right and wrong, and nobody see it, but you still got this guilty conscience.
Yeah, and if you think about it in the sense of the dog example that you gave, the only reason that dog thinks that it is wrong is because of whatever punishment that the dog had received when it did it. But in true essence, it's not wrong because it's the nature of the dog.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it's only wrong to us.
You don't like that.
What's that?
You live with your owner don't like that.
Right, exactly.
So in a like way that we live together, we live in communities together, we have to learn to live together. And so in the same way, we have to relate and with this whole concept of being accountable to each other. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where the whole idea was developed. And I think God had to develop to like keep communities, large communities together. You know what I'm saying? It has to keep it with the same morals and principles, so that so when people go out of line, there's a sense of guilt that comes along with that. Yeah. And in the Christian and the Jewish sense, for some reason, we got to deal with that guilt. They developed this concept and this system to deal with the guilt through the sacrificial system.
No, so I'm with you. And You're right. You know, through as man began to have community, that is how they started to develop these ideas of God, so that they can maintain the identity of the community. When you look at the actual history of these people during that time frame, you see that each community had their own gods and their own rules of what's obedience to this God, so that they can maintain their independent identities, uh, and therefore maintain their community. You know, and we still do this today. And you know, one of the things that one of the things I thought about in the '90s that kind of brought that home to me a bit was living a military lifestyle. So although we are under the rules of American rules, in the military, you're under a whole nother set of rules. And although I disagree with some of those rules were put in place in order to facilitate the military community so that we can function in the way that we do function, you know. But every society is like that. And as soon as I left the military, I was no longer under those rules. So the things that I have done in my civilian life, if I had done them while I was in the military, I would have been sinning against the military because I was breaking their rules, right?
Right.
And if you go live in another country, like everybody says, oh, well, you're under American rules. But if you go live in another country, you are now under their rules and not American rules. So you may be able to do things that you couldn't do in America, or you may not be able to do things that you used to do in America. So when someone leaves these religions, you are, and this is what the Christians on here are not understanding. Once we left this religion, we are no longer held accountable for the rules of your religion because they don't apply to us anymore.
Right, right. Yeah, but you know, the doctrine is basically, God is God of all, so you don't have to answer whether you like it or not. But, so,
Wait, and say that again.
So, I said, God is the God over all, so whether you like it or not, you got to answer for it, based on the Christian and Judeo-Christian, the religion.
Exactly.
Christian, so. So that's why it's understandable why they feel that way. But it's, I'm just starting to see things. It's like everything is opening up now. I see how silly a lot of this stuff is, man. It's just the whole concept that, what really brought it home for me, not just the Genesis account, but one time it was this really small thing. I was watching like a TikTok or something like that. And it was this young man, and I probably said the same thing before, but it sounds so stupid when he was talking about it. It was this young man talking about a baby. And he said that baby had a spirit of sin in them already because, you can tell a baby not to eat some candy, but he's still going to try to eat that candy. And when I thought about it, I was like, that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
The baby sees the candy, and just like the story of Eden, it looked like something good to eat, and its nature is to grab the candy and to test it out. That's like built into the baby. It's something the baby cannot help. It's not sin. He's not doing it to defy you or to defy God or anything like that. It's just the way we are designed by nature to experience the world. We experiment, then we find out something ain't good for us, or we,
Yeah.
So it was just when he said that, I was like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. So you weren't here at the beginning of the live, see, because I and not a shot at you, but I expressed how when I was still a Christian before '95, I used to think the same way that person thought, because.
Right.
And even when my child when she was born, when Sydney was born, when I would watch her and I'm looking at her and I'm like, damn, she's selfish and greedy, because she would eat, as long as you keep feeding her, she would eat, regardless if she's full. She greedy. She would take another child's toy, right? And I'm like, damn, she's selfish and she steals. So I was like, yeah. These children, you're born evil. You're born with sin. So when this guy said that every thought from man is evil, that's proof right there. Right. But then I kept watching and thinking and watching. And I was like, no, she sees another toy. She doesn't understand possessions because we haven't taught her possessions yet. She doesn't she's only eating like that because, you know, I can't say had because she's still alive. One of my aunts, I didn't know much about babies in that regard. And she was like, you feed a baby until they throw up. Like that was her advice. That was part of her advice. And I was like, okay. But then I rationalized that if she eats until she throws up, then she's expelled everything in her stomach. So now she's going to be hungry again sooner. So I just wasted that damn money, you know, on this food. And I was like, she's not eating. And so let me feed her to where I can think that she's satisfied. Right.
Correct.
And then just stop. And then some things they jokers just like more. So I watched this other kid from a friend of mine at the time. They kid was like 2-3 years old, and they gave him some French fries, and they gave him some ketchup. All he would do is dip the French fry in the ketchup, and he'd lick the ketchup. Kept doing that. And then I realized he's not being bad. He just likes that sweetness of the ketchup, and so he's just eating what he likes. So when a child is, you try to tell a 1-year-old or 18-month-old not to eat something that they've had that they like, no, they're going to eat it not because they're trying to be disobedient, it's because they like it. So like with your candy example, they just like it, which by the way is why my kids never got ketchup until they were like 5-6 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because jokers, you know,
You're surprised. That's like child abuse.
Whatever. You're gonna eat these damn French fries that I just bought you, and you're not just gonna sit here and eat ketchup. Because I recognize the psychology of it all. They're just eating, they're gonna want what they like, because that's a natural thing to want what you like. And not, you know, a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old doesn't understand that you need more nutrients than ketchup.
Exactly.
So until you can teach them that, then you have to restrict certain things from them. You know?
Right. It's like you learn the consequences of your nature. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're born that way, you got that nature, but you learn the consequences, and that's how you learn how to, you know, do better. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that you're born with sin, is that you know, you just gotta learn how to navigate this world. You know, it's you know.
I'm laughing because my family thought that I was crazy, because probably about the third word that my kids learned was the word consequences. Like I used to sit there when they was like little, like, say consequences, say consequences.
Really?
Yeah, because
real big word is like the third word.
Yeah, it was like their third word. Like their first word was daddy. But that was their first word. Piss everybody off. Their first word was daddy. But no, because I wanted them to grow up understanding that for every action, every word, every thought, there are consequences to it. Right.
Right.
So yeah, I was kind of, and you know, I had family members like, why are you trying to teach that baby the word consequence? I said, and I would tell them, because that's what they need to understand, that more than anything else. That for everything they do, every decision they make, every action they take, there are consequences to those things. Because nobody taught me that. I had to learn that the hard way. So I don't want them to learn these things the hard way. If I know you can't fully get rid of it, you know, where they understand that, but I wanted to diminish as many of the dumb mistakes that people make by them having an understanding that every decision has a consequence. So that's why I was playing.
I think on some level we do understand that, you know, but it's like a risk and reward kind of estimation that you take whenever you make an action, you know, on another level. You know, even with kids, when you call them bad kids, you know, they kind of mentally somewhere subconsciously making a decision based on, okay, this is my risk on, you know, I might get punished, this might be the bad, but I'm willing to take that risk anyway. You know.
Exactly.
So I think that's what I think that might be what people think is sin that we born with. I don't, you know, but you know, the idea that sin is an actual thing, that is an actual thing that's resident in us that we got to get rid of, and that something that Jesus could even die for to change. I mean, it's just not real. It's just a concept.
It's all a concept, and some of the concepts are good. Now, the one in John where it says that everybody who is within the body of Christ is sinless, that's stupid. But I do like the philosophy that Paul put in there, where he said that it's a constant circumcision of the heart, right? Not that believing in Jesus and all of that is what you need to do, but when you look at it from a more of a a universal perspective, that you have to constantly be on guard to make yourself better, right? To not continuously repeating the same stuff that goes against yourself and society over and over again, right? But you know, of course, his concept was about God.
Right. Yeah, and that's sin is real, but like I said, it's not something that, I mean, that whole concept of we born in sin, shaping iniquity.
Yeah.
I mean, you say shaping iniquity, you know, there's you know, the world and all the evil and stuff around that help shape us. I would agree with that, but we're not born into sin. Sin is not in that way, in that concept, sin is not a real thing. It's not, you know, it's not something that we get from, that we were born with out of, you know, from Adam and all that. This is how we are. This is how we are made.
Yeah.
So if we got a sin nature, God designed us with that sin nature. Because even when you break it down philosophically, when you go to Garden of Eden, I mean, how did Eve sin if it wasn't her nature to do it?
Yeah, and that's the thing. She didn't. She didn't sin. According to this story, how they try to make it is like, oh, she disobeyed this God. And they try to say that that's a sin, but she didn't disobey the God in the sense of, I'm disobeying the God so that because this God is trying to protect me. No, I'm disobeying this God because I don't truly believe that he told me the truth. Because now I got opposing thoughts here. I got this God told me that on the day that I eat of this, I will die. The serpent is saying that no, you won't die and you'll just become like one of us. And so it's okay. I got two opposing thoughts. I don't know the difference between a good thought or a bad thought. So she doesn't have it's not a sinful nature. But then when they tested the thought, because that's what we do is test to see if something is real, true or not. She tested it. And guess what? She finds out that she didn't die and that she did become like them, the gods, knowing the difference between God, good and evil. And then this God even admits, damn, now they know the difference. They become just like us, knowing the difference between good and evil. So it's like, really what she exposed is the fact that this guy lies, that he doesn't tell you the truth.
Yeah, the God of Scripture is the truth.
So I would say we are born with a curious nature. We're born with a testing nature. That I could agree with. But as far as being born with a sinful nature, and then the aspect that, then, you know, the other thing, because I did notice that like in the 90s, a lot of the churches that I was around, in the 90s and 2000s, they started talking about, oh, it's not that you're born into sin, you're born into a sinful world. I thought somebody was going to say that, right? But I didn't see anybody say it yet. But with the same breath that you can say that this world is sinful, can you not also say that this world is loving?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Because can you find love in this world?
Yeah, for sure.
Then the world, you're born into a loving world. Can you find peace in this world?
Right.
You're born into a peaceful world.
Concept of this concept is all or nothing though. Like the concept of purity. What's pure? Like if you got some pure white milk and a speck of dust drop in it, it's no longer pure. So yeah, you're right. The world, we got love in the world, but the evil in the world corrupts the You know, so that's the concept behind it, you know.
Right. That's the concept, but it's a false concept. Because all right, you know, I've spoken more about the Panari people. The Panari people in their society had no concept of guilt, no concept of sin, and the way that they lived their lives, the American dude who went and stayed with them for 5 years witnessed one crime in 5 years. So these were peaceful, loving community people, and they were able to survive that without the bullshit. It wasn't until the evil of Christianity came in and messed up their society. So we can live and not be tainted by what some people would call evil.
Yeah, that's something too. Like I seen something about Christopher Columbus, and he was talking. He wrote something about the indigenous people, and he talked about how great they were, like how wonderful they were. You know, even before coming across Christians, you know.
Yeah.
And how because they were so peaceful and docile or whatever that they could easily subjugate them.
Yeah, I've heard that being said about him.
That's a big black eye on Christianity right there, where you got people who do not even ascribe to the Christian God, and this is a Christian who can see that their character, moral character, is well above their own. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah, true evil and sin comes from cultural societies. It does not come from Eve ate this fruit, and now Adam and Eve ate this fruit, and now that's been passed along to people. Like the gentleman who was on here earlier was saying, my father wasn't an alcoholic, but let's say my father was an alcoholic. I don't have to. That's not something that's going to be passed down to me. It's a choice that I would make. You know, my father had a jacked up ass diet, as just like most of the people around me in the South. I made the decision not to eat like them.
Right.
That shit's not. That's why I can't stand when I go to, like, I got to set up my physical. I hate when they ask those questions about, you know, do you have diabetes in your family? Do you have high blood pressure in your family? Do you have, you know, alcoholism or anything like that in your family? I'm just looking at this like none of this shit is passed down. Like, I don't have that shit.
Well, some of it, I think that you can have a predisposition to something.
You can have some genetic makeup that could make you predisposed to certain things. I would grant that.
Dispositions to some of those things, even alcoholism, they say so.
But most of that shit is bullshit.
Yeah, this is like I think one guy came up. I think I heard him on your talking about trauma that people got.
Yeah.
They try to say that trauma passes down. And I'm like, man, come on. I don't believe that. When I was born, I was traumatized by the slavery that happened 200 years ago. I mean, we have issues still because of it, but I don't think it's intrinsic to my being.
And that's the thing. It's not intrinsic to your being. It's the fact that the system and the culture has passed it down and continues to pass it down. Right.
Correct. So like whether it's being reinforced by the world or the family you're in, the family reinforces the bad things and the bad habits. Like you said, if your father's an alcoholic, you see it, and that's something that you want to, you start to emulate. Sometimes you emulate things without wanting to emulate, but you still emulate.
Oh, exactly. This is why, like, if you have a boy that grows up and he watches his mother get beat by his father, 90% of the time, and I'm just throwing a number out there, I don't know what the percentage is, but there's a higher percentage that he's going to repeat what he saw his father do, right?
Correct.
So, and Christians like to say, oh, we're going to break the curse, It's not a fucking curse. It's a learned behavior that you picked up, If you sit up there and you watch your parents just drinking all the time, and then you get older, and as soon as you get, have access, and you start drinking all the time because you watch your parents do it, right?
Right.
So, and people don't realize, and anytime somebody has a child, one of the pieces of advice that, if they ask for advice, but one of the pieces of advice that I will give them is that remember that everything you do from the moment that child comes home is watching and learning. So you got to be on your P's and Q's as to what you demonstrate in front of your child, even when they're 1 day old to death. You got to watch what you do. Like even right now, I'm conscious of what I do in my life because although my children are adults, they are still watching.
Okay, I got you. Yep. It's hard, man. It's hard to lose that, that logic about, sin and everything. Because it takes up a big space.
Mm-hmm.
It took up such a big space in my life. Like, the concept that I'm a sinner and, do something small. I do something small, like, watch some pornography or something, and I feel bad and all this stuff. And it's like it take up so much space in your life. And once you recognize it ain't real, I mean, it's good, but it's like, nah, what do you do with all that space now?
Well,
what do you do with that space now? You ain't got that big. You ain't got that voice in your head making you feel bad about, you're a sinner, you need to repent and all that stuff. I mean, it's like
so
that's a big adjustment.
Let me help you with that adjustment, bro. So of course, in order to get the first step is realizing that there's no such thing as heaven and hell, right? So once you realize there's no hell, then of course there's no such thing as sin then, because sin is, according to that belief, sin is what gets you into hell. Not believing in this God is a sin. Not following this God's rules and regulation is a sin. Not repenting to this God, that's a sin. So that what gets you thrown into this hell, right? And in Christianity, not believing in Jesus, that gets you into hell. But once you realize that there is no hell, now you don't have to believe in these gods, so you don't have to follow their rules. Now, where you replace that is now you have to make a decision on what type of man or person you're going to be. Are you going to be a good person, or are you going to be a person that hurts other people? So every decision now becomes, it's my responsibility. It's my accountability. To determine what is going to be my effect on the world and myself. And that's what I replace it with. And I go through critical thinking of it. If I want to sit here and watch porn, I will ask myself, and who am I hurting? Am I hurting myself? Am I hurting my wife? Am I hurting the people that I'm watching? Am I hurting my kids? Am I hurting society? If the answer is no across the board, then I don't have a problem watching porn. If the answer is yes in any of those departments, because it's, if I'm watching porn, then I lose the affection that I have to my wife, as many people do. Well, some people do. I don't know how many people do. But I've heard of the porn desensitizing people.
Yeah.
If it desensitizes you to the point where, if it desensitizes you to where now you can't have a proper relationship with your spouse, then you're harming yourself and you're harming your relationship. You're harming that person, so you shouldn't be watching it, right? You just critically think through everything that you think or have been taught is a vice, all right? So, like, people like to come on this channel and talk about my cigars. My cigars ain't hurting nobody else around me. When I go to a cigar lounge, all the people in the lounge are in agreement that we're gonna smoke cigars and inhale secondhand smoke. Now, the research shows that 0.01% of cigar smokers get any form of cancer because we don't inhale. So I'm not even really hurting myself. I hurt myself more breathing this down. Like yesterday was considered a high toxicity day for San Antonio. I don't have any problems, but my wife did yesterday. She has more problem with the air in San Antonio yesterday than she did with the cigar she smoked yesterday. Right? Because she smoked a cigar, didn't bother her. She just walked around breathing, eyes all red and swole up and, chest hurting and all that shit.
Man.
So
That bad.
just yesterday, they have something called cedarwood season or some shit like that. It's kind of like living in the Southeast when you have different allergies that come out. Different things that your body is, allergic to. Like as soon as my wife crosses the state line of Georgia, her allergies kick in. Right. If I were to go and eat 7, 8 helpings of gelati, then I'm going to get a sinus infection. So now, am I sinning because I'm hurting myself? If I purposely go eat 7, 8 helpings of gelati, then yeah, I'm hurting myself and I'm doing it on purpose. But that's only to myself. I ain't hurt nobody.
It has its own consequences. It doesn't develop like a karma consequence or a consequence that a God is going to punish you for. It has its own consequences. That's what it does to your body.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly. So, I'll be the first one to tell you jokers who got something to say about my cigars. If you eating meat, if you eating processed foods and meats, you ain't got shit to say to me about cigars. Because that shit is doing more harm to your body than my cigars are. Now, cigarettes is a whole nother thing.
Right. That's cancerous.
You got 11 different chemicals that they put in that trash. So that's a whole nother story.
I smoked a cigar once in my life, never a cigarette. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
So, I smoked a cigar once. It took me 2 days to smoke it, and I was like, okay, I'm straight. That was good enough for me.
You ain't had the right teacher. You ain't had the right teacher, man. You should.
Yeah.
You gotta be with me. You gotta be with me. I teach you how to do that thing.
I got one more question for you.
Okay.
When you were a Christian, did you have what I would call like what you would think was the voice of God in your head,
plenty of times.
Just feeling.
Oh yeah. A bunch of times.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing that's hard for me now. Now that I know that this shit ain't real, or is this? I don't know. At this point, I think there is a guy, but I think he's it's like we're in like this is like Roblox. The kids got Roblox and they got their little characters and all that stuff. I kind of think that's where we are right now. We have characters for this being, and this is all this entertainment. That's kind of where I'm at right now. That might change, but that's the one thing, man. Just losing that voice, that that person you go to when you got problems or situation, pray, think he's hearing you, and all that stuff. Losing that's a big adjustment, because sometimes I catch myself feeling like I need to pray, but I'm like, I start praying, I start feeling stupid. I'm like, this ain't real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to have that. I used to have a lot. I've had a lot of moments of that. I don't know if you've been on here when I've talked about my trips to Israel, even when I went to the Vatican, of all places. I've had those moments where I thought it was the Holy Spirit. I thought it was God talking to me. But I later realized that it was me talking to me. It was my own consciousness. It was my own voice. It's the voice that I ignore sometimes that was talking to me, which is my own, like your gut instinct. And then when things were going bad, I would have that desire to go and pray and all this kind of sort of thing. But then I would look at it and I'm like, nah, it's my accountability. So like when I only had $27 in my bank account and I got a family of 5 to feed, 1, 2, 3, 4. I got a family, well, counting me 5. I had a family of 5 to feed at that time frame and 1 on the way. So family of 6. I wanted to go out and rob this dude because I need to feed my family, and I felt down. I felt bad about it, and I should have felt bad about it, no doubt. I still should have felt bad. But the thing that happened is I got some inspiration, and then I went and I handled my business. Right? I borrowed a couple of dollars from my brother and my aunt in order to. Well, first I went and put myself in position to get some money, but it was going to be a month before I thought it was going to be a month before I received anything. So I put myself in position to receive continuous money. And then I went and borrowed some money from my brother and my aunt. And then I went forward in that opportunity. I paid my brother and my aunt back, and I kept moving in that opportunity. And I took care of my family, you know? And when I look back on it, there was no God. There was none of that. That was me. The shame I felt from wanting to rob that man when he walked out his when he would walk out his convenience store, and I knew which days he took his cash deposits. That was me that had that desire. And it was me that told me, you can't rob that man, because that man did whatever he did to own this store, and he's working his business to take care of his family. So who am I to take that away from him and his family? That was my own personal thoughts of the quality of person that I was at that time frame that made me say, no, that's not right. And then it was me that said, I got to figure this out. And then it was me that said, well, let me talk to who I deem as my closest personal advisor at that time frame. And then took their advice and went and did some shit to get it done. You know, so my kid's mother was my closest personal advisor at that time frame, so that it's not as vague. And she was like, well, go to school. And I was thinking, I can't go to school. What's that going to do? But then I thought about it. If I went to school, then I can get my GI Bill, I can get grants, and I can get loans. So that was on a Thursday. I was in school on Friday. And that girl who works the programs, she had money. I had a check on Tuesday. You know, so it was decisions that I made. And I was going to school for IT. So then I made the decision, fuck, to hell with this class process. I'm going to take these tests as fast as I can so that I can get certified faster, so that I can start working faster. Because GI Bill and the student loan and the grants only going to last so long. It can only do so much. Right. So yeah, I did that.
Right. And you go kind of against his idea when it comes to morality, that you have to believe in a God to be moral and things like that.
Yeah.
Because that's the big argument. Like that was what I thought was a strong argument, that we get our morality from God, but I think we think that because we don't go back farther.
Right. And you know where I got that.
The morality existed before you didn't need a guy to tell you it's wrong to kill somebody. You didn't need a guy to tell you it's wrong to steal.
Exactly. And you know where I got that from, to be honest? My grandfather, on my mom's side, you could do a lot of things, but the thing that he hated that made you one of the worst human beings on the planet is to steal. My grandfather could not stand, in his words, roguish people. I don't know if you know what roguish means.
You said who?
Roguish.
Roguish.
That was his thing. He didn't say steal, he would say roguish. But he couldn't stand people who steal. Right? That was his biggest thing, that he made sure to emphasize. I don't know what happened in his life that made that so important. So the moment I thought about robbing that man, my grandfather is coming to my mind. If I steal from this man, I am the lowest person. You go cheat on your wife, you can go get into a fight, you can go gambling, you can smoke some weed, you can drink alcohol, you can do all those things. My grandfather will be he ain't gonna be as upset with you. But if you steal, and understand, my grandfather was one of my biggest heroes. You steal, you're the worst person in creation. So that morality about stealing, that came from my grandfather and what he impressed upon our family. And like that impression, even though he's been gone since like 88, that impression still lives strongly in our family. I know I'm going way deep into this one. There was a Christmas party. My family had Christmas parties every year, right? And we was having it at my house. and I used to carry a money clip. And this is back when the money was flowing like a champ. And I had a money clip. I left that money clip on the bar in the house, and we had about 30, 40 people in the house. And one of my friends had came up to visit during that time frame. The wife had grabbed my money clip and brought it to us, talking about she brought it to my wife at the time. And she was like, oh, he left this on the tape on down there. I don't want nobody to take it. She laughed at her and she was like, oh, ain't nobody stealing nothing in this family. They might be we got some drug dealers in the family. We got some other people doing some other stupid stuff in the family, but stealing, ain't nobody stealing shit in this family. Right? And that impression and so that's where the morality came from, right? It didn't come from a God or nothing like that. I don't know what experience my grandfather had in his life. He was born in like 37 or 39, something like that. I don't know what happened because he never told us, but that was his big thing. That's where that morality came from. And my grandfather was not practicing Christianity.
Religious in any way?
Hell no. My grandfather didn't even go to a church until about 6 months before he died.
Okay.
And I know though, even though my family thinks even though my family thinks that he saw Jesus and that's why he started going to church, that's not why he started going to church.
Oh, you got the inside scoop.
Yeah. My grandfather went back, he started practicing masonry again. And the Masonic temple he was going to, they still have this rule at that particular temple that you have to belong to a church and go to a church. So it's actually a violation of Masonic teachings to tell them that they got to go to a church and be a member of a church. But that is the only reason. And the only reason he started practicing masonry, because it afforded him contracts for his construction company.
I thought masonry, you had to have a belief in a creator, and
you do.
And you had to go into one of those. And it doesn't have to be Christianity, but
yeah, it doesn't.
So
you just have to believe in a creator.
Okay.
Which that's the only reason why I don't practice masonry.
Okay.
I don't practice it within a lodge. I do practice the lessons that I learned, but I don't practice it in a lodge.
Because Mason, he was a Christian too, like a pastor. He said, "As people, as Christians, we don't believe you should be, masonry." But he said that he said it was the deepest. He said it was something like the deepest understanding, or something like that. Masonry was like the deepest understanding about God. So I don't know if you came across something like that.
It depends on the lodge that you're in. Some lodges are heavily religious based, whether it's Christianity or Islam or any other type of religion, because there are Masons all over the world. So like if you go to an American lodge, they're more likely going to have a Bible up there. You go to one that's in a Muslim community, they're going to have a Quran. You go one that's in a Hindu community, you'll have the Vedas. So it depends on which type of lodge you go to, but they utilize those books to teach Masonic principles.
Okay. Hindu Masons too?
Oh yeah. I've met Masons from all over the world.
Okay.
And so and I can tell you this one's like, and this is a principle that you can find in every religion. But one of the principles of Masonry is making good men better. And there is a constant, to use the Christian term, there's a constant circumcision of the heart. There's a constant iron sharpens iron kind of mentality. Right? You are supposed to get better, become a better man at all times, and you're supposed to only be around good men who are trying to be better men. So that's the universal teaching, and you can find that in every religion. So the only thing you can't be an atheist and you can't worship an evil deity.
So you can't do satanic. You can't be a worshiper of Satan, right? Or
yeah, no. But any evil deity.
You get the 33rd degree. That's not.
it's a bunch of bullshit. They always, yeah, they you know, the non-Masons always saying that, oh, once you get 33rd degree, that's when they tell you the truth, and then you're worshiping, you know, Beelzebub or what's the thing they always say? What's the goat-headed half male, half female dude? That what?
Is it Moloch?
No, not Moloch. Moloch is not a god. Moloch is a form of sacrifice that involves child sacrifice. Moloch is not a god. It's a mistranslation from the Septuagint of a word, Moloch, something like that. But it's not. Yeah, no, that's a misconception that people have. Shit. What is that? It was a French dude in like the 1800s who created that damn thing, that hermaphrodite goat-headed thing.
It was Aleister Crowley, was it him?
No, it was created before Aleister Crowley. Shit. You know the goat head, and then he got Baphomet. Yeah, Baphomet. And so they'll tell you that, oh, you worshiping Baphomet and Lucifer and all this stuff, and it's like, no. When you reach the 33rd degree, they do not teach you that. You do not start doing that at all. That is not even.
Are you a 33rd? How you know?
Because I know. Because I know.
You might get to that 33rd and find out.
Because I know. Ain't no Mike. Because I know. Even before that, I knew. Because I got family members who are there as well. But because I know.
The 33rd, but they sworn to secrecy, right? They can't tell you if they doing that. So
yeah, well, you know. I knew more about masonry before I became a mason, so well, you know. So, and then as far as that 33rd, and there's more than 33 degrees. That's only what most people think. There's more than 33 degrees.
Oh, really? Wow.
How many degrees are in a circle? How many degrees are in a circle?
360.
There you go.
Wow. So you got 33rd, you ain't even halfway there.
Well, most people don't go beyond that because going beyond that is very difficult, and there's so very few people who ever go beyond that. Right? So you may have only like 10 people in the world who go that far.
Okay.
Right? But there's a lot of misunderstandings of it when people say, "Oh, you riding a goat," and so that's why they say Baphomet. It actually has nothing to do with fucking Baphomet. But you got to be one to know what that really is. Because
right. It's all what's the word? Speculation.
Yeah, that's all it is. A bunch of people speculated against it. There was in the 1950s, there was the anti-Masonic party that ran for presidency, and they spread a whole bunch of misconceptions about it. And people believed it because Masonry in the 1950s didn't fight against it. They was just like, we good. The majority of people, men in this country, are Masons, so we ain't worried about them little people. But it had an effect that they didn't expect, and that is the conspiracy theories that are surrounding it now.
Right.
Yeah. And even some Masons say some dumb shit. Like Sherry just put that her grandmother was an Eastern Star. They try to say that the Eastern Star, they flipped the star upside down to represent Baphomet. And it's like, no, the fuck they didn't. That's not what they did. It is not upside down from the Star of David for that. It has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
You know, but people make up stuff all the time. In the same way they make up stuff about sin, make up stuff about this Bible, they make up stuff about that too. Instead of actually finding the information about it. You know. So nah. And when you go to Shriners, they make up shit about Shriners as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe you can do a live on that. So
Nope.
We know what the concept really are. Like, what even the purpose? I don't know what the purpose of Masonry is.
Just to become a better man, and then there is the purpose. And this was a big argument. This was a big argument in my first lodge, because you had one side of the guy saying that it's about charity, and I was on the side of saying no, it's not. It's about being a better man and affecting society in a better way. So you can put charity in there, but it's also about helping one another to become more industrious, you know, business contacts, life contacts, things of that nature. That's what helping one another to become better in all facets of life. That's what it is. And a lot of that does deal with finances. So some of these brothers was like, no, it's about charity. It's just about charity and being a better man. I was like, bullshit. If I just join you motherfuckers just to be charitable, I ain't no way in hell I'd join this. If there's no if there's no business aspects to it, if there's no, because you can't make the community better without money. Like, let's just be real. You know, you cannot make any community better without finances. So if we don't acquire finances, then we cannot make anything better, because that's how our world functions, right? So yeah, you can go out there and we can, you know, I fed the homeless many times with my fellow Masons, but if we all were generating higher forms of income, how many more people can we feed? If we're generating higher forms of income, how many people who can't pay their rent can we help? Because that's one of the things that my group would do. We would help people pay their rent and pay their bills, right? So if we don't have the money to do it, and I'm not gonna stand on the corner with a bucket begging people, you know, we should just be able to do it out of our own finances without hurting ourselves. So it has that application to it. Now, some people, just like anything, some people had utilized that to injure people in the same way that Christianity or any other religion or any other organization have caused harm. So you're always going to have some bad apples in there.
Most definitely.
Yeah, you try to guard against it, but there's only so much you can do.
Right. All right, Coach Ray, I had a great time talking with you.
All right, appreciate you.
Thanks for letting me on.
No problem.
How much is the conference? You know, how much is that?
The only cost you will incur is your hotel stay at the Drury Plaza, downtown San Antonio, and whatever food and drinks and shit that you buy. That's it. Because everything, like that Friday night, we're just gonna meet at Devil's River. You ain't gotta buy nothing if you don't want to. You can walk, or you can take an Uber, or this other little shit that San Antonio got that you can get to places, get around downtown. I forgot what it's called. We're meeting at the hotel poolside 2 times, so that's free. And then we're going to the Japanese tea garden. That's free. You just it's a $15 Uber ride. People can share that. But the Japanese tea garden is free. So there's no cost other than I just want everybody to stay at the Drury Plaza, because they also provide free breakfast and a free supper. So you can save on some of your food costs. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
I'm gonna see if I can make it. I gotta do some more work, bro. We'll see.
Well, go to the link in the description of my live from yesterday and reserve your room. You ain't got to pay for the room until you get there.
Okay.
So if you know that your finances will be able to accommodate the room and your, I don't know, I guess flight or whatever, then just go ahead and handle it. Because when I get my report, oh shit, I get a report today. When I get my report today and next week, I want to see that all the rooms have been taken care of, so that I don't have to pay for extra rooms that nobody's in.
Right. How many rooms you trying to sell? Trying to get?
We have to have 24 nights taken care of, and I think so. We need 12 or 14. I think we have 12 to 14 nights handled thus far. So we need 5 more reservations. I think somewhere around 5 more reservations should take care of it. About 4 or 5 more reservations to take care of it.
Okay. Yeah. I'll see what I can do.
Well, stop seeing and doing. Do it. God damn it. Yoda. Right. No try. Just do.
No try. All right, Coach, man. You have a great day, bro.
All right, man. You have a great day as well. trying to see real quick if they have if they sent me one today. Did they send me a? I don't think no, they haven't sent it yet. Nope, haven't sent me the updated thing yet. Nope, don't see it. Don't see it yet. Don't see it. Is it under this email address? Might be under the other one. Mello.
What's up, Coach?
What up, Mello? How we doing today?
I'm doing all right, boss.
Good. So what do you think about the subject matter?
Of course, I like it. I actually wanted to talk about it. This concept of sin to begin with, I kind of think, it's my personal opinion, that it's a pointless thing to even begin with.
Agreed. Why is it pointless?
Because what kind of like God can find offense or can be offended about anything that he helped create or had a hand in doing? This makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. This God created all the sins. So therefore, why is he upset that a creation that he made supposedly at this low level would fall into the trap that he created?
Yeah, that's literally my thought process about it. It's like it makes no sense. It's like it's how I feel about the Adam and Eve story in a way. It's like, bro, you put these mentally slow people in a garden and you expected them not to be tricked by a super advanced being.
Yeah. Not only that, but kind of like what Lo was saying about something that looks, candy, right? The kid sees candy, and the kid wants that candy. He said he made the tree look good for food. Why would you make it look good to entice the person even more so? Right? And they're going to fail.
100%. Why are you lining with barbs and all this other weird stuff,
Right. Like if I saw fruit on a tree and the fruit looked ugly, it stank, and then there are thorns and shit to get to it, I'll be like, nah, this over here is a lot easier for me to get my hands on. So I'm gonna go eat this instead of that. So
exactly, could have made it too sticky. He could have made it so high. He could have made the tree 2,000 feet tall. So they couldn't actually access the fruit. I'm saying, like, it was so many ways to it. He could just move the tree to a different garden.
Yeah. What's that little? There's I forgot the guy's channel, but he did a video like that where the little butt naked angel that he has with him was putting the tree like on this high ass mountain way away from everybody, and the stupid God character is like, nah, I think I'm just gonna put it right here in the middle of the garden and make it look good. It's like the little angel knew to make it look bad, but this dumb guy was like, nah, we got to make it look good and everything, as if he wants man to be tempted by it, right? Which is dumb. Like that's putting a gun in the house and making it all cutesy and expecting your children not to touch it. That doesn't make any sense.
Not in the least. And on top of that, like, I like the analogy with leaving the firearm out. Like, that makes sense. That's kind of exactly how I feel about the whole thing. Is it's like, bro, it's like, in the concept of just Abrahamic religions, we are the problem.
Yeah.
Like,
go ahead.
Punished for something that we had nothing to do with still. So how are we all born? Like, it's the whole stuff weird, man. Like, we're all born in sin. We're all naturally sinner. This is just the whole
Yeah, you blinking out. If you're still talking, yeah,
I'm
you
sorry.
blinked out.
I'm like in a I'm in a bowler when I'm like Gulch or something right now.
Oh, okay. You truck driver or some shit? But yeah, the whole. Oh, go ahead.
You let me up. When I actually, you know, I know you're about to get off soon anyway, but I'm like deep. I'm like in the middle of nowhere. My connection is bad. I appreciate you letting me up at this that little chat. I'm gonna talk to you later, Coach. I appreciate you, man.
All right, no problem, Melo. Melo out in the middle of nowhere. You got to do that. What's that? I think it's T-Mobile doing them commercials where they got the people out in the middle of nowhere, and they still getting a signal. Nah, but I've always often found it dumb that when they describe the garden, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 9, he said, out of the garden, the Lord God made every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So if you made every tree in the garden that would look good, pleasant to the sight, and good for food, why would you do that? That makes we're supposed to not be as intelligent as this guy, but everybody on here, whether you believe in this or not, has enough sense not to make something that you don't want somebody to touch who doesn't know the difference between good and evil. You got enough sense not to make it look pleasant, not to make it look good for food. Because if you don't want these childlike beings to touch it, then you will make it so that they can't touch it. Right? I would have put some thorns on there. I would have made it stink. I would have made it look ugly as hell. And I would have made it not good for food. Right? And like what? And like some people try to say, like it might have been a pomegranate. A pomegranate is not good for food. Not food, not for nourishment. It got a lot of great antioxidants and all this kind of stuff. But if you ever eat like a pomegranate, you ain't getting satisfied on no damn pomegranate. That's just something to have. But these humans, Adam and Eve, had to have, without knowing the difference between good and evil, and they have to have a childlike mind. And what being would allow for childlike mental people to have something that looked good to them always in front of them? That's dumb. I'd have put that shit on the top of the mountain or underneath the sea or, in a whole nother land. In a whole nother land. If the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and according to this Bible, there was no one in the Americas at that time frame, even though there was a heavy population of people in the Americas, I'd have put that tree over there in the Americas. I'd have put it way over there. I ain't gonna put it right here where they can look at it and they can see it every day. Why would I tempt them? Why would I tempt them? That makes no sense. That's like my daughter is infatuated with these certain bottles of tequila. It's not, I don't know, she just liked the way the bottle looks and she used them for decoration in her house. It's the blue and white tequila bottle that's all shapely and everything. She's infatuated with how the bottle looks. So imagine if she was infatuated with how that bottle looks when she was like 2, 3, 4 years old. Why would I put that within her grasp if I know she's infatuated with how that bottle looks? Now I'm putting that heavy poison of tequila right in her line of sight to be like, ooh, that's pretty. I want that. And then when she shake it, like, ooh, it got something in it. If the bottle pretty, and this is how marketing goes often. If the bottle is pretty, then what's inside of it must be good. Right? So let me have some of that. My man Roy Chess says that the temptation was needed. What parent says that the temptation to see if a child disobeys me is needed? That's bad parenting. If that's how you raise your family, you are a bad parent. Roy Chess, you're a bad parent if you think that you need to tempt your children. Doesn't the Bible tells parents not to tempt their children? I know it's in there somewhere where it tells parents do not tempt your children. But yet this God tempts his so-called children. That's piss poor parenting. You are a horrible parent. Horrible parent. And that is not free will. It is not free will when he already knows what the results are going to be. If you can say that this God knows the results of everything that every person is going to do, then you do not have free will, because now it's preordained, it's predestined. So you don't have free will. So there is no such thing as free will if you are a believer in this Bible. Oh, thank you for joining, Yash. But there is no free will. It cannot be. The only time you can have free will is that when you can go against whatever this God thinks he knows, right? This guy will have to not know what your decisions are going to be depending upon what situation he places you in. And then you choose, and it's not the one that he already knows. That's free will, right? So like I advise my son, well, I advise all my kids, but this same thing, but I had advised my son that when he went to the military, don't get married, don't have any children during your first contract, that first 4 years. That way you can take your money and you can invest it. Take half your paycheck and invest it into this particular mutual fund. And then get into that habit of putting that much money in, because when you get out, the job that you've been training on, you will make so much more that putting that same amount of money is not going to matter. And then by the time you get to 55, you will have over $6 million of value in this account. So, and that's because of compounding interest, which is a beautiful thing. Did he do it exactly like I instructed him? No, because he had free will to choose. Now, if I already know, if I can peer into the future and know that at 55, he didn't do this his whole life, then he didn't have free will, because I told him that, even though I knew he wasn't going to do it. That's me saying, oh, he ain't got any free will, because I can tell him, but he still ain't gonna do it, because I already know what the end is going to be. And that's through knowing, not guessing, not assuming. That's knowing. And this guy is supposedly in a position where he knows that he knows. So, and let's see. I like when people do that. So let me get it. So it was a statement, that was a question that was asked. Okay, so this is a beautiful thing. This is a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. So over here on, what is he on that he said that? I think he's on YouTube. Yes. So Marcel, no, that's not what he said. That's not Marcel who said that. I clicked on the wrong thing. Oh, but it was Marcel who said that. See, understand the phraseology that he used, right? Right. He doesn't know he doesn't just know he designed and programmed each outcome. Marcel said that. Where in Genesis did it state that God knows everything? Now, he would think that he wins the conversation by asking by framing it as saying, where in Genesis does it says that God knows everything? It's not in Genesis. 1 John 3:20. Wherever our hearts condemn us, for God is greater than our hearts, and he knows everything. So he knows everything, according to 1 John 3:20. So yes, it's not in Genesis. It's not in Genesis. Isaiah 46:10, God declares that he knows the end and the beginning, and from ancient times to things not yet done. He knows everything. So yeah, it's not in Genesis, but it's in Isaiah, it's in 1 John, and other parts of the Bible. So I like how you frame the question, in order to try to get your answer to be contrary to what we're saying, but you fall short because we're not going to fall for that. Right? Then you say it first appears in Psalms. So is the God in Psalms any different than the God in Genesis? I already know your answer has to be no. Your answer has to be no, that the God in Psalms is not the same God as the God in Genesis. Let's see. He said it's in Psalms. I know Psalms 47 says that great is our Lord, the abundance in power. His understanding is beyond measure. That's 147. I love Google. Google is a beautiful thing. As long as you ask it the right question, it'll give you, as long as you ask a good question, it'll give you the right answer. Psalms 139, you have searched me, Lord, you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, the Lord, you know it all. You know it altogether. Right? So that's because he said that in Psalms. Are you negating that he's not omni when it comes to Genesis? Yeah, that's what I just read. Psalms 139, 1 through 4. So because it's not written in Genesis, then you're saying that he didn't know in Genesis? Then that would not make him the God of Psalms. He would be a different God than the God of Psalms if he didn't know in Genesis. So he'd be a different God. We say Proverbs 21:1, the king's heart is in the hands of the Lord, like a stream of water. He guides it wherever it goes. I think is how that finishes. So I don't know what Marcel believes because I haven't been reading all his stuff, but it sounds like he's a believer. And if you are a believer, you ask the question, where in Genesis does it say that he knows all things, yet you yourself provided, where in Psalms he claims to know all things. And if he knows all things in Psalms, then he has to be the same God that knows all things in Genesis. You know, it's just a quick pro quo right there. You're defeating your own argument, right, by even making that statement. And when you try to phrase a question in such a way that where in Genesis, it already shows how you're not trying to ask an intellectually honest question. Not at all. But my fellows, my people, it has been 3 hours and 32 minutes, 22 minutes. So we know what we're about to do. We're about to close. The doors of the church are now open. And I would love for everybody to be able to join us at our church gathering. We want to thank the Williams family for putting together this splendid occasion. You know, the Williams and the Johnsons have done very well in putting together this splendid occasion of our Free Thinkers meetup here in San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. I look forward to everybody coming out and joining us in this auspicious occasion. This is the agenda by which that we will adhere to, and you know, how they say it? Get ourselves accordingly or act accordingly, according to the agenda. Yeah. And for the Christians who want to come to this meetup, I know we're meeting at Devil's River. We're gonna have a bucket of water there for you. We're gonna baptize you in the name of the Devil's River Distillery. I just bullshit. But so we will be meeting at Devil's River Distillery, 8 p.m. Until we leave there and probably go to somewhere to do some dancing. Sherry want to go dancing. And then November 2nd, we're gonna have a business and money talk poolside, because like I said earlier about when we were talking about masonry, we have to be able to establish ourselves financially so that people don't look and say, "Ooh, see, you leave God and all of a sudden you broke." We don't have that bullshit. Then we're going to meet at the Japanese Tea Garden, have a discussion, Q&A about deconstructing Christianity, and then we'll talk more about our journey of deconstructing and building our communities and family on the poolside again at 8 p.m. And then Sunday, we're just going to do a little sound bowl meditation. Y'all can thank my wife for that one because I was not planning on getting up early on any of these damn days. Now, remember, go to my YouTube page at Coach Friends 33. Click on the link of the description of this live if you're watching it later. And in that description, you'll see the link to reserve your hotel. You do not have to pay for it until you show up. So don't worry about the finances right now. Also, they provide a free breakfast and a free supper. So you have 2 times per day that you'll be able to eat and not have to spend money on it. But it's going to be a good time. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to go to this. Me and my wife are going to go to this Latin rooftop bar, and I'm going to shoot some video there so you guys can see like one of the places that we like to go to. That's literally 2 blocks away from Devil's River, I think. Yeah, it's about 2 blocks away from Devil's River. I know it's not line dancing, Sherry, but we do a little salsa, a little merengue. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. We go live Monday through Friday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I know I've done a horrible job with my timing this week, but y'all be all right. But starting late. I think I started late every day this week. But we start, so 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, we go live. I also will be, of course, I produce videos after the lives. I would appreciate it if you guys watch them and share them. Continue to join the page, but watch and share, comment and like. Those things are very important. The people who support the channel, whether you are a super fan on TikTok, a subscription holder on Facebook, and a member on YouTube, I greatly appreciate it. Do I do special stuff with members and super fans? Not yet. Every blue moon I do, but not yet. But I appreciate you guys. The love and support, so I appreciate that. For the super chat, I appreciate the super chats. I'm always going to give when somebody do a super chat or a gift and, they put the comment up there, I'm definitely going to give attention to those. So it's out of the humility of thinking, the gratitude rather of them doing it, because I don't ever ask for it. So I want to just show my appreciation for when that happens. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And I will see y'all tomorrow at 12 noon. Tomorrow. We're going to be singing Orphan Annie tomorrow.